Hello and welcome inside Regency Furniture Stadium on a beautiful June 21st evening as your Southern Maryland Blue Crabs take host to the High Point Rockers. It is the third meeting in between the two teams this season, the third series between the two teams. The Blue Crabs 2-5 against the Rockers this season, with each of their two wins coming in their most recent two matchups. That's a theme for Southern Maryland in that coming into four series ago, or the beginning of last homestand, Southern Maryland had not won a series all season. They have won three of their last four since. This is one of the hottest teams in the Atlantic League. The best stretch in terms of wins and losses for the Blue Crabs as well, 7-6 over their last 13. Austin Rooney joining me today. Andrew Banstra here taking you through this Blue Crabs Broadcast Network. Austin, what exactly is changing for the Blue Crabs? More importantly, what do they need to do to continue their success against the High Point Rockers today?
Well, I think it's important for the Bats to stay consistent, and they have been consistent over the last four series, having won three of them. And this team has found success from up and down the lineup. But the biggest thing is driving in runs. We've seen times this season, especially earlier on, where they'd be able to muster 8 or 9 hits, but only drive in a single run.
Yeah, and it's really interesting that you bring that up, considering the Blue Crabs scored 8 runs last night, but only had 9 hits. Now, you'd have to imagine, initially, you'd think, well, it's probably the walks. Well, the walks weren't quite there. That's been a theme for the Blue Crabs all season, but they're finding ways to get it done. No sweeps. They haven't had any sweeps in any of these series wins, although they've been swept once in the series loss. You're not even really necessarily looking for a series sweep. You're just trying to get a couple more games and take them from the High Point Rockers. This is a Rockers team that's been very good in their inaugural season. 32-23 are these Rockers, and the lineups read as follows. When you look at the lineup for the High Point Rockers, it starts off with the first baseman, number 65, Steven Cardulo. Batting second, number 11, the second baseman, Miles Schroeder. Following him in the 3-hole is Tyler Marincove. Batting fourth, the designated hitter, number 22, Quincy Lattimore. Batting fifth, Hector Gomez plays third base. And batting sixth, the left fielder, Richie Schaefer. Batting seventh, the catcher, number 12, Matthew Jones. The shortstop bats eighth, number 1, Giovanni Alfonso. And batting ninth, the center fielder, number 7, Kalen Sams. On the mound for these High Point Rockers, number 30, a right-handed pitcher. His name, Tyler Herron. As we transition into what you've all been waiting for, it's the Blue Crabs starting lineup presented by Birch Oil. As we continue into this night, we've got a special appearance here tonight before we get into the starting lineup. It's Dwier Brown, also known as John Kinstella from the movie Field of Dreams, as he'll come on the broadcast just a little bit later. He is one of the most iconic individuals in one of the most iconic movies that America's ever seen. Now we get into your starting lineup presented by Birch Oil. Leading off the second baseman, it's number 6, Kent Blackstone. Batting second, our featured player this evening, the left-handed hitting right fielder, Ruby Silva. He hits .274. As you can see in the last homestand, he had 11 hits, 2 home runs, and a walk-off. Batting third, the left fielder, Joe Benson. He wears number 15. Batting fourth, Corey Vaughn. The center fielder has been one of the best bats in all of the Atlantic League of late. In the last homestand, he finished off the final 6 games with 4 home runs. He currently sits tied for third most home runs in the Atlantic League with 11 this year, and has the most in the league since the beginning of the 2017 season with 42. Also had one last night. Batting fifth, the designated hitter, switch hitting wonder, Frank Martinez, smack dab in the middle of the order. Batting sixth, the first baseman, John Griffin, wears number 13, and the 7-8-9 for the Blue Crabs reads as follows. It's the shortstop, number 9, Edwin Garcia. Batting eighth, Josh McAdams, the third baseman, number 7, has been terrific, becoming a fringe everyday starter for the Blue Crabs, and deservingly slow. He's hitting .300. Batting ninth and rounding out the Blue Crabs lineup, the catcher, number 2, Mike Falsetti, hitting .250 on the year. He's been a very consistent bat. And on the mound for your Southern Maryland Blue Crabs, it's the right-hander. It is Brandon Compton. Compton pitched in the MLB last season. Here he is in Southern Maryland this year, back and returning to Southern Maryland as we continue to take you through. The High Point Rockers come in to this game sitting a game and a half back in the Liberty Division. Austin, as we look down the standings right now, what exactly do the Rockers need to do to try to gain some ground towards the end of the season, towards the end of the first half? But what do the Blue Crabs need to do to try to play the spoiler in this position? As we know, the Blue Crabs don't necessarily have an opportunity to contend in their division in this half.
Well, these two teams are in very different spots right now. The High Point Rockers sit just a game and a half back from first place in the Liberty Division, while Somerset and Long Island are tied for first. So it's a really good opportunity for High Point to win a couple of games. The only difference between them and the Rockers, they and Somerset and Long Island are the losses. They have 3 more losses. They're going to have to pick up some wins to try to get back in the playoff race.
Let's take a short break. On the other end of it, we've got Blue Crabs baseball on the Blue Crabs Broadcast Network.
Western.
Welcome back inside Southern Maryland into Regency Furniture Stadium. Andrew Banster alongside Austin Rooney to take you through tonight's matchup as the Southern Maryland Blue Crabs take on the High Point Rockers, the 8th meeting between the two teams this season. We've got a special guest joining us this evening. It's John Kinstella, as you may know him. You also may know him by his real name, Dwier Brown, a participant and actor in one of the most iconic American films that's ever been, Field of Dreams, one of the best baseball movies ever, as well as shortly. As Brandon Compton takes the mound, when you look back at Compton's year to this point, not exactly what he was looking for, but that was his year last year as well, as he was pretty good through his first 9 or 10 starts. He really turned it on in the next 3, and after that we saw him picked up and go to the MLB a month later. His most recent start, he went just 3 innings at Somerset. He allowed 5 runs, all of them earned, 6 hits, 5 strikeouts, and 4 walks. The outing before that was his best of the year, and it's not even close. It was a win versus New Britain at home. He went 7 innings, allowing just 4 hits, 8 strikeouts, 1 walk. He did not allow a single run as he comes up to face off against the leadoff hitter for the High Point Rockers. It's number 65, the first baseman, Stephen Cardullo. Compton ready. Here he comes in the red pinstripe jersey, and his first pitch will catch the outer half, and the count is 0-1. As Compton comes back on the mound, he'll miss on his second pitch. He's really working that two-seamer on the outside corner, as we've seen him do in just about every single one of his starts. The two-seam fastball is a pitch that's going to start on the outer edge of the zone, and it's going to work back inside. He jams up Cardullo here. It's a little blooper off to the left side, and the sun will bar the shortstop Edwin Garcia and the left fielder Joe Benson from getting that ball. Austin, that's not the start you want to your night if you're Compton.
It's not. Brandon Compton is somebody who has been struggling a little bit recently, ERA near 5, and it's been important for him to get some early outs in the first inning, and it's not a great start for him when that's a ball that was probably catchable, but tough for both the shortstop Garcia and the left fielder Benson to make the play.
Yeah, and the keys to the game continue to be similar in that you can't let leadoff runners get on, and more importantly, can't allow them to score. You can't bank on keeping them away from home plate after you lead off an inning. And more so, offensively for the Blue Crabs, you really need to get those leadoff basemen on base and all the way around, as the Blue Crabs are much better when they score first. They're going to have the chance to do so if Compton is able to get out of this early jam. First pitch, make that second pitch, a little bunt to the right side, and it's foul off the bat of Miles Schroeder. The count of ball and 1 strike. Schroeder with a pretty interesting story, Austin. He was drafted by the San Francisco Giants in the 27th round in 2007. He retired from baseball right after he was drafted. He decided to take 3 years off and then would join the single-A affiliate of the San Francisco Giants in 2011, would end up playing baseball ever since. Here we are in 2019. Made it all the way to AAA as he'll foul one back into the screen. The count 1-2. He is renowned for his versatility in the field, and that's really not even a good enough term. He's a man that can play all 9 positions. He's listed as a catcher. We saw him in center field in the last series. We see him at second base today. I was watching an interview about him from his time in the minor league ball. He plays all 9 positions. He's even pitched.
Wow.
So his manager said that he also adapted the ability to switch hit at the minor league level. Also said that he's the most versatile individual he's ever had the opportunity to coach.
Yeah, and he's become one of the key pieces for the Rockers this season, leading the team in at-bats, home runs, and RBIs.
As a second pickoff move, this one not quite as close. Compton almost had Cardullo over there at first on the first pickoff move. Pretty packed crowd here tonight at Regency Furniture Stadium. Back at home. First day of summer. Today is the longest day of the year in terms of sunlight hours. Still pretty sunny out here in Southern Maryland. 6:46 the time, as we are just a couple minutes into this home opening ball game of the series. 1-2 on its way. This pitch is going to be lofted into left center field. Runner went on the pitch. Beautifully executed hit and run's going to put runners on the corners. Still no down here in the top of the first. Back-to-back singles to lead it off for the Rockers.
Yeah, it's a good piece of hitting that time. Driving into left center field and getting another base hit. The Rockers now threatening in the top half of the first inning. And we've discussed numerous times the importance of scoring the first run of the ball game. When the Blue Crabs score the first run, they are over 500. But when they do not, the team is just 5-25. 13-11 when they score first, 5-25 when they don't. It shows you the massive discrepancy.
It's going to be tough to avoid that this evening. Compton's first pitch misses upstairs to the 3-hole hitter, who comes in the form of Tyler Marincove. He's been awfully good. 22 games played. He's hitting .300. He's had 3 home runs, 12 RBIs, and Compton has some serious work to do if he wants to stay perfect in terms of score here in this top of the first. He's going to get a strike across. The count now even at a ball and a strike.
Well, I'll tell you, this Rockers team has suffered a lot of players who have left because of being signed by affiliated clubs. Bichette was signed. He's in Double-A, as is Brett Austin. The two of them were both hitting over 300, Bichette at 386 and Austin at 321.
This pitch catches the outside corner, 1-2 the count.
And then Breland Almadova was hitting 327 when he went down. He's on the disabled list. So now Tyler Marincove has the best average for the High Point Rockers at 300, despite the fact that 3 other players were hitting significantly better earlier in the season.
High and tight fastball, and that's what the doctor ordered for Brandon Compton. He comes back and gets the strikeout swinging, and now the double play ball is in order to keep this half inning unscathed. Top of the first action between the Southern Maryland Blue Crabs and the High Point Rockers. Rockers come in with a record of 32-23. The Blue Crabs 18-36. They have won 3 of their last 4 series. Those their first 3 series wins of the season. Quincy Lattimore steps up to the plate. He's got an interesting story after this pitch that will miss upstairs. He led the Atlantic League in home runs and in RBIs with 9 home runs and 29 RBIs. That was coming into the last time that the High Point Rockers came here to Southern Maryland. That was all the way back on May 26th was the last game that he played in. They would come here on the 27th. That day he was picked up by the Mexican Baseball League, would go down there for a couple of weeks, and he rejoins the Rockers here just a little under a month later. He played exactly 1 month from April 26th to May 26th to begin the season.
And sometimes that happens. Players will get signed, will come back, and try to make their way back through affiliated baseball to the major league level. We saw this very pitcher on the mound for the Blue Crabs make an appearance with the Toronto Blue Jays in the MLB last season.
Yeah, Compton started off the season with the Blue Crabs, would be picked up by the AAA affiliate of the Blue Jays. Another great pickoff move over to first. Nearly got him again. That's the second time that it has been a split-second decision as to whether Compton's pickoff moves have gotten runners. The Rockers seem antsy to try to get into scoring position. 2 balls, no strikes the count. As Quincy Lattimore steps in, Compton misses inside, and the count 3 balls and no strikes.
Brandon Compton, someone who has some control issues. It hasn't been as bad for him as we've seen for some other players throughout the league who have struggled with control, but Compton has over 20 walks thrown in 53 innings of work. A little bit high, but not as bad as it could be. You know, he's got more strikeouts. He has 53 strikeouts in 53 innings, which has been a strong mark for the right-hander.
There was a time this season, about 5 or 6 starts into the season for Compton, that he led the Atlantic League in strikeouts.
And that's one thing that MLB clubs really value. Do you have strikeout stuff? And clearly Compton does.
Compton picks off for the 4th time in this inning. None of them have came to any volition for himself, but they've kept the runners close. We already saw 1 hit and run executed for the Rockers. Wouldn't anticipate anything like that here, but maybe a stolen base. Compton's 3-1 misses high and tight, and the bases are juiced here as the 5-hole hitter Hector Gomez comes up to the plate. Double play ball is still, in fact, in order for number 32, Brandon Compton. Is that the first thing on your mind, or is it just find an out and you'll sacrifice a run?
I think that if you can get the double play, of course you're going to try to get it. You're going to try to take it. But in general, it's the top of the first inning. If you can get it out, it's okay to trade a run with an out at this stage in the ballgame.
Hector Gomez plays third base for the Rockers. He is tied for second place in the Atlantic League for the most doubles on the year with 18 as he lofts one relatively shallow into left field. Joe Benson runs and comes and get it. We're going to see a run on the throw. Mike Falsetti snags it. A dive and a beautiful slide from Steven Cardulo as that throw was realistically in time, but it took Mike Falsetti a little bit towards the foul territory side of the chalk line. Cardulo played accordingly, dove head first, and got under the tag. What a slide to make this a 1-0 ball game. 2 down in the inning.
Yeah, you mentioned a great slide, and it's a nice play by Joe Benson, ranging over towards that left field line to make the catch. It was a good throw home, but again, a great slide from Cardulo. And Benson's got a decent arm, but not quite the arm that Corey Vaughn or Ruby Silva has.
And that Cardulo run came originally from a little bloop base hit that dropped in front of Joe Benson. This pitch misses low and away, and the count's a ball and no strikes. The man up to the plate, Richie Schaefer. 2 hits in this game for the Rockers. And Compton's going to miss a little high and outside. Schaefer is hitting .252 on the year. He's played in just 38 games, but he's hit 9 home runs with 23 RBIs. As a point of comparison, the Blue Crabs only have 2 individuals with 23 or more RBIs on the season. Frank Martinez and Corey Vaughn. As a big swing and a miss, makes the count 2 balls and a strike. Schaefer's the type of individual that is either going to come through big time or is going to be set down, typically on strikes. He's a hit-or-miss type batter. Compton trying to opt with the miss option. As 1 run in the top of the first is much more manageable than a couple. We've seen the Rockers get up early on the Blue Crabs a couple of times this year. In all of those games, the Rockers have ended up winning. The most recent of them was a 3-run home run in the top of the first from Vio Sergei Rosa, who gets the night off this evening. The Blue Crabs are 2-5 against the Rockers this season. Started the season 0-5 against High Point, have won each of their last 2 matchups. 2-2 pitch from Compton, a slider, a swing and a miss, and Brandon Compton starts off this inning not the way he tried to, but ends up working around it. Finishes it off cleanly. The score 1-0, the Rockers ahead. We're through a half inning of baseball. We'll be right back on the Blue Crabs Broadcast Network.
This is Corey Vaughn. Are you looking for fun on the weekend without breaking the bank? My Eye Doctor Backfin Buddies is for you. For just $15, your child will get in for free to every Friday Blue Crabs home game all season long. Plus, kids receive a Backfin Buddies t-shirt, go on the field for the national anthem, and parents will get a reduced ticket rate. What more could you ask for? Come watch me hit a home run every Friday for just $15.
Josh McAdams, and you're listening to the Blue Crabs Broadcast Network.
Welcome back inside the Blue Crabs Broadcast Network as we take you into the bottom of the first inning of baseball. Brandon Compton worked around an early jam in his beginning to this game. And the Blue Crabs will try to strike back here in the bottom of the first. That was the theme last night as the Blue Crabs secured their third series win in their last 4 tries. Tyler Herron on the mound as Kent Blackstone digs into the left-handed batter's box. He'll take strike 1 on the outer half. 0-1 the count as the Blue Crabs were able to battle back last night and take down the New Britain Bees in New Britain as this pitch lofted deep into the left center alley. It's going to be a tough play and a snow cone catch on the dead sprint by the Rockers left fielder Richie Schaefer. Robs the Blue Crabs of some early momentum.
Yeah, it's a nice piece of hitting by Kent. It's a nice piece of hitting from Kent Blackstone as he goes the other way and it almost lands in that left center field alley, but a great play by Schaefer, ranging over and making the catch for the first out.
As Ruby Silva digs up to the plate, you see the numbers for Ruby on the season. As Ruby's hitting .274, he is our premier matchup today. 11 hits, 2 home runs, and 1 walk. And 1 walk-off in the last homestand.
Yeah, Ruby Silva has been one of the most consistent hitters for the Blue Crabs this season. He started the season red hot, hitting over .360. The numbers have dropped into the 270s, but still a very consistent bat, and he's been in that 2 spot in the lineup night in and night out.
Every single game this season, he has been right there. He shifted a little bit defensively between center field and left field as Kent Blackstone indeed is on base, as that pitch did drop. Ruby Silva comes in with a double. Blackstone running around to score, and 2 batters. It is all it takes for Kent Blackstone to come around and score as the Blue Crabs are on top early. Tie it up early.
Yeah, well, a good piece of hitting from Silva. He goes the other way right down that third base line, past the outstretched glove of Gomez. And extra bases for Ruby Silva. And all of a sudden, the Blue Crabs have tied this game.
All it takes is 2 batters to tie things back up. For the misstatement. Kent Blackstone did, in fact, reach on the single. He has the speed to take him all the way from first to home on a Ruby Silva, basically a weakly hit ground ball that gets down the third baseline. But when you're Silva and you hit the ball as hard as you do, a softly hit ball can get through every once in a while. Joe Benson takes strike 1 on the outer half. On the mound for the High Point Rockers is the right-hander Tyler Herron, number 30, a right-handed pitcher.
Yeah, and Tyler Herron has had an up-and-down year this season. The ERA not perfect at 5.26. He did have a couple of great starts earlier in this season in early May when he went 13 consecutive innings without allowing an earned run, but most recently he struggled, allowing 5 runs in 7 innings, and then his last start against Southern Maryland, he allowed 3 runs in 5 innings of work.
1 ball, 1 strike the count to Joe Benson, the former major leaguer, played for the Minnesota Twins back in 2011. He's got the red bat above his head, and the Blue Crabs could keep chalking away. A dive, and that gets in front of Richie Schaefer. Ruby Silva rounds third, and the Blue Crabs are back on top. Benson rounding second. Here comes the dive into third. He is safe under the tag. An RBI triple for Joe Benson, and the Southern Maryland Blue Crabs are on fire right now as we've got some injuries to attend to in left field. It looks like Richie Schaefer came down with a shoulder injury when he was diving for that ball.
Yeah, that's not a good look. Schaefer down on the field, his teammates all around him. He dove on that ball and had a good chance of making the catch on a shallow line drive into left field, but Schaefer shaken up in the left field for sure, and he remains down on the field. You have to hope that he'll be just fine.
As the possible replacements for Schaefer would read as follows. You've got an infielder on the bench in the form of Steve Passatempo. You've also got Frank Nigro. He is a catcher by trade, and Vio Sergei Rosa, also an infielder. The only thing you could potentially think of is we were talking about how versatile the second baseman is for these High Point Rockers, in that Miles Schroeder could potentially slide into the outfield. As a sign of respect, we're going to send it to break shortly. We'll be right back on the Blue Crabs Broadcast Network.
This is Craig Stem, right-handed pitcher for the Blue Crabs. Here at Regency Furniture Stadium, we've dedicated every Friday home game to remember everybody deployed. On Red Fridays, presented by Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation, the Blue Crabs will wear red uniforms to honor those who have served. Plus, tickets are just $5 when you show your military ID. Come help us celebrate those who have served our country at Regency Furniture Stadium every Friday night. This is Ryan Chafee, and you're listening to the Blue Crabs Broadcast Network.
Welcome back inside Southern Maryland. We take you back following an injury break as Richie Schaefer, the left fielder for the High Point Rockers, dove for a ball that was hit off the bat of Joe Benson into left field. It would turn out to be an RBI triple that would give the Blue Crabs the lead, but more importantly, no status update to this point on Richie Schaefer. It looks like Miles Schroeder is, in fact, going to stay at second. Vio Sergey Rosa is going to go to first, and into left field is Steven Cardulo. Corey Vaughn digs up to the plate as the Blue Crabs have seen three batters come up to the plate. All three of them have had hits. The Blue Crabs have had a single, a double, a triple, and Corey Vaughn has the most power in the Atlantic League. If you want to get a cycle in order from your top four of your lineup, Corey Vaughn, your best candidate to do so. He has 11 home runs on the season. That's good for third most in the Atlantic League. Heron's cutter misses on the outer half to count a ball and a strike. Vaughn's 42 home runs since the beginning of the 2017 Atlantic League season are the most in the Atlantic League since that time. Vaughn wears number 27 on the back of his red pinstripe jersey and takes a big swing and a miss at a changeup from Tyler Heron, who's still looking for his first out in this game. Here comes Heron with the 1-2. It's a cutter that'll miss outside. 2 balls and 2 strikes the count. Joe Benson stands at third base, 90 feet away from giving the Blue Crabs a 3-1 advantage here in the early going.
So the changes are now official. Steven Cardulo will be out in left field,
as Corey Vaughn fouls the ball off to the left side.
and Vio Sergey Rosa will be at first base.
Vaughn waiting to come back in. 2 balls and 2 strikes the count. To the man with the best on-base plus slugging percentage on the Blue Crabs. And realistically, it's not even close. He's head and shoulders above his teammates, and the count still 2 balls and 2 strikes. Southern Maryland with a chance to hit for a team cycle in order. Vaughn comes in with the most home runs on this Blue Crabs team with 11 on the season. 4 in his last 6 home games. A curveball misses on the outer half, and Vaughn gets a veteran's call to count 3 balls and 2 strikes. Vaughn's .383 on base percentage is 101 points better than the Blue Crabs team average. By far and away the best on base percentage on the team, and this ball is a towering ball into the left center alley. At the very least, will be able to score the run from third, as it does go down as a sacrifice fly. It will bring in Joe Benson. The bases are now clear, and Corey Vaughn does the job. A sacrifice fly, and the Blue Crabs are on top 3-1 in the early going. Southern Maryland allows a run in the top of the first. 4 individuals have come up to the plate. The Blue Crabs have seen 3 runs come across.
It's a very good piece of hitting from Corey Vaughn as he drives that ball into deep left center and nearly exits the ballpark.
Off the bat, I wasn't so sure that was going to stay inside Regency Furniture Stadium. 0-1 the count to Frank Martinez. The 5-hole hitter plays a designated hitting role for the Blue Crabs this evening. Frank takes a big cut and will swing through a changeup from Tyler Heron. He's gone back and back to that pitch. It has been successful to this point. A high-scoring affair in the early going. As Frank Martinez will go down on strikes. 2 down in the inning for the Blue Crabs.
Interesting note about Corey Vaughn, and he was in the cleanup spot, as we mentioned. This is his first start of the season in the cleanup spot in the batting order. So far, he's been 5, 6, or 7 for every single game this season. But tonight, Corey Vaughn, with his strong hitting recently, has been put in the cleanup spot.
John Griffin laces one to right field, but right at the right fielder, Tyler Marincove. That's how we exit 1 inning of baseball played. A little bit of bookkeeping. Ken Blackstone did not, in fact, reach via the hit. He reached via the catcher's interference. That's how he got on base. The Blue Crabs score 3 runs in the bottom of the first inning. They're on top of the High Point Rockers through 1 inning of baseball played. We'll be right back on the Blue Crabs Broadcast Network.
This is Adam Choplick, left-handed pitcher for the Blue Crabs. Every Blue Crabs Wednesday home game is Wind Up Wednesday Ladies Night at Regency Furniture Stadium, presented by Cove Point Winery. At every Wind Up Wednesday Ladies Night, women will get in for just $5 and can order from a long list of fine wines and watch every baseball game from Southern Maryland at the same time. We look forward to seeing you at the ballpark.
This is Tony Thomas, and you're listening to the Blue Crabs Broadcast Network.
Welcome back inside Southern Maryland. We take you into the top of the second inning of baseball. We talked in the top of the first about how the Blue Crabs really struggle when their opponent scores the first run of the game. 5-25 in such affairs, much better when they score first. That hasn't really been a problem tonight, as the High Point Rockers loaded the bases in the top of the first, scored 1 run. The Blue Crabs come back and plate 3 runs in consecutive order in their half of the first. Here we come into the top of the second as this pitch misses outside. 1-1 the count. Now, Austin, it's been a common theme in home games of late for the Blue Crabs that we see a lot of times a whole bunch of runs in the first maybe 3 or 4 half innings of the game, and then a lot of silence after as this pitch is dribbled to the left side. Josh McAdams is going to have to make a terrific play. He has the effort in the right spot, but doesn't get the play in time. That'll go down as an infield single for Matthew Jones.
That's a slow ground ball to the third base line. You mentioned McAdams makes a good effort to try to make a play on that ball, but unable to come up with it cleanly to throw to first in time.
As often of late, it's been a battle of who can score early and often, and that's been one of our themes lately, but it's been especially important in these last couple of games. In the first few innings in the last homestand, that was really the deciding factor of each and every game in that homestand.
Yeah, and it continued on the road this past series where the Blue Crabs put up a 5 spot last night in the first 3 innings. They led the game 5-1, but New Britain chipped away slowly. New Britain took the lead in the bottom of the 8th, but a big come-from-behind win in the top of the 9th inning. Josh McAdams with a pinch hit, 2 RBI double.
He has been awfully good, not only as a position player, but also as a pitcher.
It's true, his ERA sits at 2.25.
He has been very good. No balls and a strike the count to Giovanni Alfonso. He hits .228 on the season. 1-1 the count. Alfonso, a defensive specialist, plays shortstop.
And initially, the Blue Crabs were using McAdams only in situations when the game was completely out of hand, but more recently got an opportunity when the Blue Crabs were down by just 5 runs. It ended up being just a 1-run loss for the Blue Crabs, and McAdams did not allow a single run in his appearance. He could have been in line for the win.
A very good pitcher. This is first season pitching professionally. As this pitch came up and got the hand of Giovanni Alfonso. That does, in fact, count as a part of the bat, so it'll go down as a foul ball. As we're going to hear some arguments from the High Point Rockers coaching staff. We'll give you that coaching staff. First base coach is Bubber Birdsong. The bullpen coach is Albert Gonzalez. Billy Horn, the bench coach. The pitching coach, Frank Viola. And Jamie Keefe, the manager. As we saw an injury back in the bottom of the first inning on what was an RBI triple for Joe Benson. He has since seen the man injured on that play replaced. As coming in left field is Steven Cardulo. He shifts from first base to left field. Vio Sergey Rosa will come in at first base. Rosa will take the the batting spot of Richie Schaefer. He'll now bat in the 6 hole. Rosa had a big-time 3-run home run against the Blue Crabs. And the last time the Rockers were here in Southern Maryland. As the umpires, we'll give you those umpires right now. It's Jorge Tehran at home, Silvio Martinez Jr. at first, and Bill Worthington at third. They'll convene to talk about that most recent play. The third base coach right now is making an argument that ball hit the forearm of Giovanni Alfonso as opposed to the hand. Now, if it hits the fingers of Alfonso, that is in fact considered to be a part of the bat, so it would be a foul ball. The third base coach is arguing that it hit his forearm, which would not be a part of the bat. Thus, it would be a hit by pitch. An interesting note, the Rockers have drawn more hit by pitches than anybody in the league, and it's not even close. They've been hit by 33 pitches this year. The next most is 17.
Yeah, that's an incredible number, the differential in hit by pitches. So much so that it's not within the margin of error. It's almost twice as much as everybody else. So a really crazy number for the Rockers, almost that you think they'd probably crouching the plate.
A ball and 2 strikes the count. As Giovanni Alfonso digs back in. Here comes the pitch from Compton and misses outside in the count, 2 balls and 2 strikes. In the next half inning, we're going to have a special guest joining us. It's Dwier Brown from the movie Field of Dreams here on Field of Dreams night in Southern Maryland. One of the most iconic baseball movies in history, representing America's pastime very well. 2-2 pitch from Compton. Here it comes. Jams up Alfonso, and we'll stay at 2 balls and 2 strikes. Alfonso hitting 228 on the young season. Not too young anymore. We're getting more and more into the year. We are nearing the halfway point.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that they're already this far into the season, and the Rockers now with an opportunity to try to win that Liberty division in the first half.
Yeah, they sit just a game and a half back in the Liberty division, so this is an extremely important series for High Point. Should they, let's say, get swept, they would be sitting very much so worse than they are right now.
Well, and also the big note,
as we're going to see a strike, and it's a strike 3, the out goes down.
Well, it's crucially important to also note that the Rockers are 3 back in the loss column. They're tied for the lead in the win column. So they can only play so well at this point because they played 3 additional ball games.
That brings up Kalen Sams. He comes into the right-handed batter's box. He was born in the Netherlands, played in the Dutch Baseball League for a couple of years before getting picked up in affiliated ball. Would play there for a few years, and here he is in High Point in their inaugural season. 1 down in the first pitch from Brandon Compton. High and tight, a little bit too high and tight, and the count will go to a ball and no strikes. Sam's the center fielder. He wears number 7. He is 32 years of age. And this pitch misses inside, 2-0 the count. He's represented the country of Netherlands a couple of times. He played in the Baseball World Cup for the Netherlands national team back in 2011. Played in the Intercontinental Cup all the way back in 2006. In 2014, he played in the European Baseball Championship, and this pitch fouled straight back, 2-1 the count. He would do that again in 2016. Also in 2014 and 2016, he played in the France International Baseball Tournament. Compton with a long look in. Number 32 wearing that red pinstripe jersey the Blue Crabs have become very fond of. And this pitch fouled well to the right side, could stay in play, but will tiptoe the chalk line and find its way into foul territory. The count 2 balls and 2 strikes. How important is it that Compton protects his lead in this situation after being gifted a 3-run cushion? Make that a 2-run cushion after 3 Blue Crabs runs in the bottom of the first.
Well, I think it's most important for Brandon Compton's confidence. He's been someone who has struggled recently. He had a tough appearance his last time out. He has pitched really well in flashes.
As Ruby Silva's going to think about coming up throwing, we saw a game earlier this season in which Ruby Silva threw out 2 individuals from right field that were just trying to get to first base, as he thought about it here, but thought better of it. That goes down as a single.
And those runners weren't simply walking over to first base. They were actually jogging and giving a good effort to first. It was just Ruby Silva came up throwing and threw a dart over to first to get the out. Now, going back to the last point about Compton, he's someone who's struggled a little bit recently, and it's crucially important he gets off to a good start, which will allow him to find more success later in the ballgame.
1 down, 2 on, the runners at first and second. Top of the order for these High Point Rockers, and this pitch misses outside. And the count, a ball and no strikes. 4 hits in the game for the Rockers have given them just 1 run. They have an error in this game. The Blue Crabs have 2 hits. They lead by 2. The score 3-2 in favor of the Blue Crabs. Cardulo is 1 for 1 in this game. He had a single to lead off this contest back in the top of the first. He would come around to score the lone Rockers run as a 2-seamer comes back into the strike zone to make the count even at a ball and a strike. The Blue Crabs offense started today with a catcher's interference that got Kent Blackstone on base. He would end up scoring, as would Ruby Silva, who hit Blackstone in with a 2, make that an RBI double. Joe Benson followed with an RBI triple, and Corey Vaughn hit Benson in on a sacrifice fly. This pitch misses downstairs, and the count now 2 balls and a strike. Cardulo actually played with John Griffin, the Blue Crabs' first baseman, all the way back with the Missoula Osprey. an affiliate of the Arizona Diamondbacks way back in 2012. A slow cutter swung on and missed by Steven Cardullo. The count 2-2. A high-scoring contest to this point. A lot of runners have been on base for the Rockers. It's only led to one run to this point in the game. Compton looking to do all he can to keep it that way. The right-hander coming home with the 2-2, driven down the left field line and into the Blue Crabs bullpen.
Yeah, you mentioned the high number of runners on base for the Rockers. They have produced 4 hits in the contest and also have drawn a walk, so 5 base runners through just an inning and a third of work for Compton. Compton's got 2 strikes, though. He's already struck out 3 batters. Let's see if he goes and tries to work a strikeout here.
We mentioned he is a high strikeout pitcher. He has major league stuff. Proved that last year when he pitched for the Toronto Blue Jays. Right up the middle, Compton could turn 2. This in the dirt. Blackstone turns it, and not quite in time. It goes down as a fielder's choice. Nearly an ending double play.
Yeah, it was not a great throw from Compton over to second base. Blackstone picked it nicely and actually had a really nice throw on a transfer to first base, but not quite in time. So still, runners on first and third for the Rockers.
And that's a really, really tough a throw for a pitcher to make. You're constantly throwing 60 feet 6 inches on a downhill slope. On that pitch right there, he takes it and he's throwing on an upward slope, and he's throwing it at a much shorter distance to a more specific target. It can really kind of mess with you mentally as a pitcher, especially considering the fact that it's a play that has to be practiced so much because it is so hard. So it's hard not to think about it. The count 1-0 to Miles Schroeder.
Yeah, and it was a good play by Blackstone to have a nice throw over to first base, especially picking it out of the ground, because normally the second baseman's going to catch that ball waist high. Instead, he's catching it near the ankles and throwing upwards over to first. That ball did not sail on him, though. It was a nice throw to first base.
This pitch driven into right field, and that's an RBI single for Miles Schroeder, who is now 2 for 2 today. He's got a pair of singles under his belt. And now 2 on, runners at first and second, as Tyler Marincove will come up to the plate. He's 0 for 1 on the day with a strikeout swinging back in the first. The Blue Crabs lead by just 1 run now, after the Rockers have plated 1 run in each of their first 2 innings. Looking to add more as number 23, Tyler Marincove, digs up to the plate.
Yeah, and they found success in both the first and second innings, had 3 base runners apiece per inning. But fortunately for Compton, it's resulted in just a single run in each. It could have been a lot worse.
The pitch count awfully high for Brandon Compton through the early going. He's pitched just 1 2/3 innings. He has thrown 46 pitches, 29 of them for strikes. Make that 28 of them.
Control hasn't really been the issue. It's simply been that the Rockers have hit him hard.
And that's something that High Point is known to do. They have one of the best team batting averages in the Atlantic League this year, and they've held that all season long. They are stacked with hitting up and down the board. You mentioned earlier they've lost some of that to contracts being purchased, but they've still got some offensive firepower in the arsenal. 1-1 from Compton on its way. This one breaks the bat of Marincove and tossed over to first. That is how we get through an inning and a half. On the other end of this break, a special guest joining us. You don't want to miss it on the Blue Crabs Broadcast Network. Welcome back inside the Blue Crabs Broadcast Network. We take you into the bottom of the second inning of action. We've got a special guest joining us here for the bottom of the second. It's Dwier Brown from one of the most iconic baseball movies, or let's even go as far to say one of the most iconic movies in American history, Field of Dreams. It's great to have you on the broadcast.
Thank you, Andrew. Good to be here.
So I got to go with this first. I was telling somebody earlier, it's got to be the first thing I mentioned. Unlike many natives or people that live on the East Coast, I'm actually from Iowa. My grandpa grew up right outside of Dyersville.
Oh my gosh.
So I've been there a whole bunch of times. I guess, first of all, more importantly, how are you liking Southern Maryland so far? And then talk a little bit about, obviously, the movie in Iowa.
Well, Southern Maryland is great. I brought you guys some good weather. So,
You sure did.
Yeah, this is just a gorgeous night for baseball or anything else for that matter. And what was the next question?
So I guess just it was more so about Iowa, but Dyersville, obviously a small area, kind of a weird situation, I'd have to imagine. A big-time movie, but in a small town. Did you know it was going to be as big a movie as it was?
No, I mean, it was just such a beautiful script. I think a lot of us just did it because we it was such a lovely script. And I was just in Dyersville last weekend for the 30th anniversary. And, I mean, when we shot it there, the farm is actually on dirt roads. And so it was very, I mean, I grew up on a farm in Ohio, and I thought this was way out in the middle of nowhere. So, but, now it's kind of, now there's hotels there just for the fans that come to the field. So it's changed quite a bit over the years. But, yeah. I love small towns because I grew up in one, so it was fine for me.
It really is a beautiful area. It's just, you almost get chills walking up to it, and I imagine you do too. But speaking of chills, let's talk about your line from the movie, "Hey, Dad, do you want to have a catch?" Right? And just watching that to this day, it gives me the chills. Talk about the emotional investment in that. It almost seems as though I want to believe that you are actually asking your dad to have catch.
Well, yeah, it's pretty amazing. I mean, it's a beautiful line anyway. When Kevin asks me and I say I'd like that, but a lot of people don't know this. My dad died 30 days before I went to go shoot that movie. So I was just left his funeral in Ohio, and then I go to Iowa and portray a father coming out of the dead to play catch with their son for the last time. So it certainly made it more poignant for me. And but yeah, it was an amazing scene to shoot, and Kevin was great. And a lot of people don't know is that we shot that. I was there for 2 weeks. We shot a little chunk of that scene every night because they wanted to shoot it at magic hour, which is just after sunset. So there's only about 15 minutes of that light. So they'd be shooting stuff, and it'd get close to sunset, and everybody say, "Okay, out on the field," and everybody run out there, and they'd set up the dolly tracks and the bounce boards and all that stuff. And the DP would wait until just the right moment. He goes, "Okay, take it," and I'd be like, "Is this heaven? Okay, give it to me again. Is this heaven? Okay, that's great. Oh, that's all we have time for. Okay." And then the next day we'd come back and turn it around on Kevin, and he'd say, "No, it's Iowa. No, it's Iowa." And so we sort of ended up shooting that scene almost a line at a time. And, when you cut it together, it looks perfect. But it was difficult as an actor to get that delicate, intense kind of unspoken kind of feeling night after night.
So I guess now that I know that, it makes me want to ask, do you think that they kind of knew that was going to be one of the most significant lines in the movie? Or is that the reason they aimed for that for Magic Hour? Or was it always Magic Hour when you guys were shooting?
Well, not really. I was hired for 3 days originally, so they was going to bang that thing out, and I was going to be gone. But there's a lot of problems with that shoot. The corn wouldn't grow for one, and you can imagine how silly it would have looked for players to be walking out of knee-high corn. So we were waiting for the corn. We were watering the corn. They ordered fake corn stalks from Hong Kong. There was all kinds of preps going in. And to answer your original question, the director told us later that he felt like he had failed every day when he went to bed. Of course, he couldn't let on to us, but it was such a difficult shoot, and he had so many things planned that just became impossible in the logistics of shooting it, that he felt like it was a failure. I mean, they had to send a producer out from Los Angeles to find out if he was going to have a nervous breakdown. So it should remind any of creative people out there that there's always darkness, before the dawn, and even movies as classic as Field of Dreams had shaky beginnings.
So I'd love to keep you in for the next half inning, as we saw very quick half inning from the Blue Crabs. They went down in order. We take you into the top of the third. The next man coming up to the plate for the High Point Rockers comes in the form of Quincy Lattimore. But when we go back and keep talking about the movie, And then I'd like to get a little bit into your life, and you've written a book. I guess my last question about the movie, we talked a little bit about Did You Know, but I guess this is more of a personal interest segment from my own standpoint. I heard that you guys even had a bowling team that you guys created. Is that right, in Dyersville?
Well, like I said, I grew up on a farm in Ohio, so being in Iowa on a farm was easy for me. But most of the crew were from L.A. or New York or Chicago, and they were just bored silly out there. So by the time I arrived, yes, I have a bowling shirt that says Shoeless Joe Bowling Team. We all had fake bowling names. I was Lou. And you know, we would shut down the bowling alley. Then we'd go over to the dog track. If you're from the area, you know, they race greyhounds. That was a phenomenon that I was not familiar with, but we'd bet all our per diem on lose all our money there. Then we'd go to the bars till 2 in Iowa, and then in Dubuque, and then we'd cross the Mississippi into Illinois to East Dubuque, and the bar stayed open till 4. So we would just, there was a lot of debauchery going on in the background, you know. And what a lot of people don't know is when we were shooting Field of Dreams, Bull Durham came out. So Kevin, who was going out to the bars with us, suddenly it was very difficult for him to get out of a bar without being, just assaulted by all the women who fell in love with him from that movie. And then between takes at Field of Dreams, he would go back to his trailer, and they were writing Dances with Wolves in his trailer with Michael Blake. So it was an interesting cross-section in his career.
Yeah, it seems like a real busy time for him. That Dubuque area, that's a real pretty area of Iowa.
Oh, yeah. I love going back every time. I've probably been there, 15 times over the past 30 years. It's been great.
So we talked about you didn't really – it's hard to imagine that movie's going to become as big as it is. But let's talk about how it's changed the course of your life, and that, it's supposed to just be a 3-day shoot for you, but I'd have to imagine it's completely altered the trajectory of what your life has become.
Yeah, I mean, at the time, it was one of those movies that people could say, oh, do you remember The Father in Field of Dreams? So in that way, it raised my profile in Hollywood, and I got a lot of other work because of it. But to think that 30 years later, I'm talking to you in a booth and signing baseballs in Waldorf, Maryland is kind of, too much to even have imagined. But, yeah, it's been an amazing thing. Because I lost my dad just before we shot it, it feels like I go to ballparks, and almost every time somebody will come up to me with tears in their eyes and tell me about their dad, and so I get to tell them about my dad, and that way we have our own little game of catch on father stories, and it's just been remarkably heartwarming for me to keep my dad alive in that way, and it definitely has changed my life. I wrote the book, and it's been really well received, and anyway, it's really has changed my life.
I mean, and that's just brilliant the way that it works out, and that, you obviously go through a really hard situation as we see a really interesting play at second. Diving in right there was Hector Gomez. He tries to get into second. Garcia had the tag down, and almost a Javier Baez-esque swim move to get around a different number 9 shortstop in Edwin Garcia. Hector Gomez gets into second. He reached on what goes down as a single. It was a pretty difficult play for the third baseman, Josh McAdams, and now High Point at risk of getting back into this ball game. They scored 1 in the top of the first as well as in the top of the second. The Blue Crabs with a 3 spot in the bottom of the first. But let's talk a little bit about your book. If I'm not wrong, it's called If You Build It. Is that right?
That's right.
And which completely makes sense. Another very iconic line from the movie. Talk to me a little bit about, what your book is about and where people might be able to find it if they'd like to read it.
Well, it's available on Amazon, and I have a website, DwierBrown.com, Dwier with an I. But the genesis of it was just all these stories of these people.
As this pitch hit loftily into left center field, a high throw in home to Mike Falsetti, and Hector Gomez with a pair of beautiful slides to get him home to tie this ball game. We're at 3 apiece as the runners switch place. Now the man at second with that RBI double, make that an RBI single and an advancement, is Vio Sergei Rosa. Sorry to cut you off.
Oh, no, it's okay. There's exciting stuff happening on the field. No, it's just, I had so many stories of people come and tell me just amazing things. People who changed careers, people who's been feuding with their dads for 15 years, and then they took him to the movie and they just got over their feud, or people finding out that the guy who they thought was their uncle turned out to be their dad, and all this stuff that was kind of motivated by this beautiful movie that we shot 30 years ago. So I started writing those stories, and And of course, I couldn't help but think about my own dad, and that's in there. And plus, shooting the movie was just a kick. I mean, Burt Lancaster, James Earl Jones, Ray Liotta, Kevin Costner. It was really a fun. Timothy Busfield is just a hilarious person, And here we are, stuck in this field in the middle of nowhere. We just had a great time. So it's a combination, a collection of all those things. So you learn a lot about what we went through shooting the movie, and a lot about what my life has been like since.
So I read an article a couple of years ago, and I guess you may have a better idea, considering obviously your connection to the movie, but you also said you'd just been out there. I read an article that they had thought about possibly turning that one field in Dyersville, this site of the Field of Dreams, into a larger baseball complex. Had you heard anything about that, or am I just making that up?
No. That definitely was in the works. The original owner, Don Lansing, sold the farm, gosh, what has it been, maybe 10 years, maybe a little more than that now. And yeah, the intention was to make a baseball complex, not around the actual Field of Dreams, but just beyond the hillside. And, it ran into some, resistance from the local other farmers in the area and all that. But I think now something exciting is going to happen at that site. And I'm not sure what it is exactly, but the former owner, Denise Stillman, just passed away this past year, so things are kind of in flux there.
It is really exciting stuff, and it's almost, it gives me the chills just going there, and that obviously it's the site of such a special movie, as a snap throw down to second is not in time from Mike Falsetti. But let's talk about baseball. Have you always been a baseball fan, or did the movie make you one? Are you a baseball fan? You look like one.
Yeah, I've always been into baseball. One of the things that was a legitimate excuse to get out of farm work was being in sports. So I played sports year round. I played Little League, and I tried out for my high school freshman baseball team, and I didn't make the cut. But my joke is now that it's my picture that's in the Baseball Hall of Fame. So,
well, of course. Not a whole lot of people get into the Baseball
That's right.
Hall of Fame.
I came in the back door, but I got in,
I mean, any way in, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's just like how they say any way on, you get hit by a pitch, you get on base, right?
Yeah.
It's it really is incredible. So let's talk about the rest of your acting career. Obviously, you've been in a multitude of different types of films. Would Field of Dreams be the most meaningful film to you, or is every film special in its own way?
Yeah, I mean, I think from start to finish, Field of Dreams has it. I mean, it was a great cast. It was a great location because I grew up on a farm, so it felt like home to me. Certainly the legacy of it has anything else I've ever been in beat. But, I was in Gettysburg, which, also is something people remember. I was in The Cutting Edge, the ice skating movie. That was another really fun cast. And, a lot of episodic television where I got to, I worked with Clooney and, all kinds of people. So I don't know. Overall, though, I'd have to say Field of Dreams is best from start to finish, and it apparently is not finished yet.
Well, it doesn't seem like it really ever will be, and that it's just such a timeless movie, right? And that I guess that's kind of a good transition into, the Field of Dreams is one of the most rustic scenes to baseball, obviously. It's in a farm. But when we have so much technology today, and the Atlantic League is one of the forebearers of this technology, the MLB and the Blue Crabs League, the Atlantic League, have partnered this season, and one of the most notable partnerships is that there's going to be rule changes. So the Blue Crabs and the Atlantic League as a whole, at some point this season, are going to have an electronic strike zone incorporated, and that there's going to be a piece of technology calling balls and strikes. So we kind of go from, playing baseball on a farm in the middle of Iowa to possibly a robot calling balls and strikes. What are your feelings about that?
Gosh, I don't know. I mean, I could see both sides of it, as I'm sure most people can. It's great to keep the human element in there. Umpires are there, and they're just another very valuable part of the game. But, other times, I've certainly been in a place where, your team loses because of a kind of questionable, so I don't know. I tend to be nostalgic, so I would probably go back for the old school, but I understand that there's more competition now for the baseball audience, and that might bring more satisfaction and less complaining from the rebel.
No, and I think that is a really big part of it. I think that there's a lot of people out there that still love the game of baseball, but obviously the viewership and the attendance down across not only the MLB, but baseball as a whole, as this 2-2 pitch is lofted to the right side and foul. 2 down here in the inning with 1 on. Giovanni Alfonso up to the plate. But I guess from my opinion, I like to see the game the way it is, but I also really like the idea of changing the game, because if we want to keep this game that we love intact, I think we really need to encapsulate the younger generation, and that's a generation that I am kind of a fringe part of, but I also understand that it's an impatient generation, and I can say that because I am a part of it, not as a criticism, but it really is just an interesting thing. Dwier, I'd love to have you on all night. It's been an absolute blast, but I've got to let you go. I know you have other things to do. For really everybody listening, I want to thank you on their behalf. I want to thank you on my behalf, and it's really been a pleasure, man.
Oh, thank you, Andrew. Always good to meet another Iowan.
That's exactly right. Dwier Brown joined us for this last inning as the High Point Rockers even things up. They've got 7 hits through 3 innings. We'll be right back on the Blue Crabs Broadcast Network.
This is Mike Falsetti, and you're listening to the Blue Crabs Broadcast Network.
Welcome back inside the Blue Crabs Broadcast Network as we take you in to this bottom of the 3rd inning. It's been a high-scoring affair. We have seen 5 half innings come and go. Only 1 half inning has not seen scoring. That was the bottom of the 2nd for the Blue Crabs. As their leadoff hitter comes up to the plate, it's Kent Blackstone. This pitch catches upstairs in the count, a ball and a strike. It was a blast having Dwier Brown on with us once again. You can find him online as well as his book on DwierBrown.com. Just search up Dwier Brown in your Google search as this pitch misses upstairs, climbs the ladder as Kent Blackstone sees a 2-ball and 1 strike count.
Kent Blackstone, someone who went the college route for baseball, went to New Mexico State for the first 2 years. There were some coaching changes at New Mexico State, and came back home to George Mason, where he finished his collegiate career.
Way back in high school for Kent Blackstone, he was the first athlete from his high school in some 20 years to be named an All-Metropolitan Area Player by the Washington Post, or All-Met as it is known, as this pitch fouled off to the left side. We're even at 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Then after graduating, he played in some lower-level professional leagues before playing in the Pecos League last season. After a very strong performance in the Pecos League, he played in the Pacific Association. I talked to him earlier today, and he told me that he's still not, he's still getting used to playing in that leadoff spot.
As he goes down swinging, that brings up Ruby Silva.
He traditionally hit more in the heart of the batting order, as he had a very strong OPS, actually led the entire Pacific Association in OPS last season.
As Ruby Silva steps up to the plate, he comes up, the left-handed batting number 12, Ruby Silva. Just 2 hits in the game for the Southern Maryland Blue Crabs. 7 for the Rockers, but we're even at 3-3. Make it 4. Make for the Blue Crabs as Ruby Silva, line shot single into right field. The Blue Crabs are getting it started here in this top of the 3rd. Make that the bottom.
Yeah, second base hit of the game already for Ruby Silva. He had a double down the left field line where he added an RBI in the first, and then here adding a base hit, 2 for 2. And Ruby Silva sees his average bump back up to 280.
As Joe Benson digs in, he had an RBI triple back in the first inning. That scored the second Blue Crab run of the game, at the time giving Southern Maryland the lead. The count, no balls and a strike to Benson. He has an interesting story. Back in 2011, he was a September call-up, and in 22 days, he played in 21 games for the Minnesota Twins. Did not ever end up making it back to the major leagues since, however, as the count goes to no balls and 2 strikes. He was basically, if you take right now as the full season, he would have been a midseason addition. So we'll just say what the truth is. About a month into the season, he was added to the Blue Crabs roster. That was back on a road stand in York at the time. Benson wiggles his red bat above his head. He lofts this one high, but not as far into shallow left center field. Ranging in is the left fielder, Steven Cardulo, who gloves it for out number 2.
And Tyler Herron seems to have settled down very nicely after a very tough bottom of the first inning where he surrendered 3 earned runs. Since then, he's gone 2 1/3 innings of work, make that 2 2/3 innings, allowing only a single hit. Now also for Tyler Herron, he has kept that pitch count down. Herron has only thrown 35 pitches through 2 2/3, so he's got an opportunity to go deep into this ballgame.
Vaughn takes a changeup on the inner half. The count 1 ball and no strikes. Vaughn finds ways to get on base. There's a couple guys on the Blue Crabs team like that, not too many of them. He came into this game with a .383 on-base percentage as he'll await the next pitch from Herron. That is 101 points better than the team average of .282 for the Blue Crabs. 2-0 the count.
Yeah, and it's in large part due to the number of walks that Corey Vaughn has drawn this season. He's done a fantastic job being patient at the plate, and it makes a world of difference for Vaughn.
Runner goes on the pitch. Ruby Silva dives into second base, and he's tagged out. When the Blue Crabs are up next, Corey Vaughn will start it. We're through 3 on the Blue Crabs Broadcast Network, and we will be right back.
This is Matt Latos, right-handed pitcher for the Blue Crabs. It doesn't get much more American than the 4th of July in baseball. That's why this year, the Blue Crabs are making the 4th of July a 3-day event. July 2nd, 3rd, and 4th at Regency Furniture Stadium will be the Monumental Fun Series presented by John Hopkins Medicine, where each day the Blue Crabs jersey will feature a different monument from Washington, D.C. Plus, both the 3rd and the 4th will feature firework extravaganzas. There's no better way to spend a holiday, so come join us for the most American celebration around.
This is Michael Kelly, and you're listening to the Blue Crabs Broadcast Network.
Welcome back in the top half of the 4th inning between the High Point Rockers and the Southern Maryland Blue Crabs. It's a 3-3 ball game, and it's 9-1-2 due up in the High Point order. the first pitch in the low part of the zone for strike one on a breaking ball from Brandon Compton, who's now thrown 71 pitches in this evening's ball game. It's 9-1-2 due up in the order for the High Point Rockers. Kelly and Sams, followed by Stephen Cardullo and Miles Schroeder. The 0-1 pitch, fastball. That misses inside, and the count a ball and a strike on the right-handed hitter. Sams moves his bat in a circular motion. The 1-1 pitch is cut on and driven up the middle for a base hit. A leadoff single in the top half of the fourth inning, and there's a runner on first with nobody out. The Rockers have been extremely consistent in the top of the fourth. I beg your pardon, have been extremely consistent throughout this game, and they've been able to score a run in each of the first 3 innings. 3 runs on 7 hits. They've also drawn a walk. So Compton's evening so far, he's pitched 3 innings. Allowed the 3 earned runs. He has struck out 5 batters. That's been the real plus so far for the right-handed pitcher. First pitch in there for a strike in the count, 0-1. Runner on first base, nobody out in the top of the fourth. In a 3-3 ball game here at Regency Furniture Stadium. The 0-1 offering to Cardullo. Off the outside edge, and the count a ball and a strike. Compton comes set. The 1-1 pitch swung on, a slow ground ball to second. Blackstone a short for 1, back on to first, a double play. 4-6-3. And there are 2 away in the top of the fourth.
And what a spectacular play by Edwin Garcia as he jumps over the runner coming under him and makes the throw at the same time. Garcia showing time and time again why he was named the finest fielder in the Atlantic League last season.
It's a big play to keep the runners off the bases for this High Point Rockers team. As the first pitch is a breaking ball for strike 1 on Miles Schroeder. The Rockers struck first back in the top of the first inning on a sacrifice fly. Scored again in the top of the second on a single to right field. And the 0-1 pitch is chopped slowly over to short. Garcia's got it. He'll flip to first, and that'll do it for the top of the fourth. The third run scored was a Vio Sergei Rosas single, but the Rockers held off the scoreboard on the top of the fourth. We're finished with 3.5 from Regency Furniture Stadium. It's 3-3. You're listening to the Blue Crabs Broadcast Network.
This is Matt Latos, right-handed pitcher for the Blue Crabs. It doesn't get much more American than the 4th of July in baseball. That's why this year, the Blue Crabs are making the 4th of July a 3-day event. July 2nd, 3rd, and 4th at Regency Furniture Stadium will be the Monumental Fun Series presented by John Hopkins Medicine, where each day the Blue Crabs jersey will feature a different monument from Washington, D.C. Plus, both the 3rd and the 4th will feature firework extravaganzas. There's no better way to spend a holiday, so come join us for the most American celebration around.
This is Michael Kelly, and you're listening to the Blue Crabs Broadcast Network.
We welcome you back in the bottom half of the fourth inning in a 3-3 game between the Blue Crabs and the Rockers. First pitch to Corey Vaughn. In there for strike one on the count. No balls and one strike on Vaughn. And Vaughn has been terrific in the month of June. He's got an OPS over 1,000 as the 0-1 delivery at the knees for strike one on the count, 0-2. Due up in the order is Corey Vaughn, Frank Martinez, and John Griffin. 4, 5, and 6. The 0-2 delivery is cut on a line drive to center field. Sams drifts over into right center and makes the grab for the second out. Falling down to a knee as he makes the grab, and there's one away in the bottom of the fourth inning. After a really tough start for Tyler Herron, he has settled down nicely. His pitch count remains very low at just 41 pitches through 3 1/3. And it looked like this game might be a long night for Herron in the first inning, where he allowed 3 runs and 3 consecutive base runners to reach. First pitch fastball on the outside edge for Frank Martinez, and the count 0-1. The 0-1 delivery swung on and chopped over to second. It's an easy ground ball for Schroeder, who handles it and flips to first in time, and there are 2 away. Quick 2 outs recorded from Tyler Herron in the bottom half of the fourth inning. Here is John Griffin. Griffin, someone who is known well for his power hitting. But in the month of June, he's been especially good with his contact. He's hit .346 during the month as the first pitch is a breaking ball at the belt for strike one. Overall, as a team, the Blue Crabs hitting .247, better than their normal average at .231. The 0-1 misses inside, and the count a ball and a strike.
Yeah, you mentioned he is known for his power. There was a month last year, it was the month of August for the Blue Crabs, that John Griffin had at least 1 hit in 20 of 25 games, with 8 multi-hit affairs coming in those games.
Nice off-speed pitch, that time from Tyler Herron. And John Griffin was well ahead of it, and the count a ball and 2 strikes.
And that's just the way you've got to approach John Griffin. Off speed, off speed, off speed. With his power, you don't want to give him anything too straight.
The 1-2 pitch, breaking ball caught on a slow ground ball over to third base. Gomez fields, he'll throw across the diamond. It is in time. A 1-2-3 inning yet again for Tyler Herron. Through 4 innings of work, it's a 3-3 game from Regency Furniture Stadium. You're listening to the Blue Crabs Broadcast Network.
This is Tommy Thorpe, and you're listening to the Blue Crabs Broadcast Network.
Top half of the 5th inning from Regency Furniture Stadium. And the Blue Crabs and High Point Rockers are tied at 3-3. Rockers struck first in the top half of the first inning. And since then, though, the Blue Crabs added 3 in the bottom of the first, and the Rockers put up a run in both the top of the second and top of the third innings. First pitch fastball from Brandon Compton in the count 0-1. And the 0-1 pitch misses in the count, a ball and a strike on Tyler Marinkov. Marinkov leads this High Point team in batting average as the 1-1 misses low in the count, 2 balls and a strike. A team that had 3 players with batting averages north of 300, most especially in Dante Bichette, who was near 400 and over 400 for a time, as a 2-1 pitch is cut on and fouled back to the screen behind home plate. But he was picked up and in affiliated ball currently, along with Brett Austin. Brett Austin was a Blue Crabs killer, had a batting average north of 600 against the Blue Crabs. 2-2 pitch swung on and chopped foul down the third baseline. Josh McAdams fields it and throws it into the crowd. Base paths empty with no outs in the top of the 5th in a 3-3 game from Regency Furniture Stadium. Brandon Compton's pitch count is high. It's at 84 through 4 innings of work. And if he continues at this rate, Andrew, you'd have to think that Brandon Compton may only have 1 inning left in the tank.
Yeah, you're exactly right. This is a guy that, realistically, despite not having the best statistical year, is always going to be on the radar of MLB scouts. You don't want to run him too deep into a game.
Swung on and a 2-hopper over to short. Garcia fields and throws over to first. Tyler Marinkov runs well and makes it a close play, but there's 1 away nonetheless.
Yeah, Marinkov has been one of the few able to have success on the offensive end. The Rockers have 8 hits through 3 1/3 innings. The Blue Crabs have just 3 to their credit, but each team with 3 runs in the game. Sometimes you can find interesting ways to get runs around, and honestly, if it works, it works.
6 of the 9 Rockers hitters have reached base in the game this evening. Marinkov, Lattimore, and the first pitch to Lattimore is a breaking ball on the outside corner for a strike. And Alfonso, the only 3 who do not have a hit, although Lattimore did reach with a walk. The 0-1 pitch from Compton. Cut on, a ground ball through the left side for a base hit. So now Lattimore has reached with a single. And there's a runner on first base with 1 out in the top of the 5th inning.
Yeah, the saving grace to this point for the Blue Crabs has been the fact that there hasn't really been a whole lot of extra base hits. In fact, base hit for these High Point Rockers. They've been getting it done with singles in 1 sac fly. The big one could really break the gates open. The Blue Crabs have been susceptible to the big inning at points this year, and they've also been susceptible to allowing a lot of runners on, but keeping them on.
First pitch is cut on and fouled off down the right field side by Hector Gomez.
That's just not really a tightrope that you want to be walking on a nightly basis, and that you don't want to have to deal with getting out of jams in almost every single inning. But if that's the hand you're dealt, the Blue Crabs have done a generally good job at it. It's going to be the case again tonight.
10 base runners have reached for the Rockers so far this evening. Ooh, and that ball runs upstairs and inside and hits Hector Gomez on the lower back.
And that's just a spot that's gotta hurt, Austin. That is not a spot you want to get hit in.
It's not, and it's a pitch that gets away from Brandon Compton, someone who's had his control issues this evening. It is just the second free pass issued, but Compton has struggled to locate his pitches, left a lot of pitches out over the middle of the plate, and this time too far inside on Hector Gomez, and there are runners on first and second with 1 out.
Yeah, Compton's plan of attack has very clearly been the fact that he's going to try to work the outer edge back in on the inner edge. That's where he's run into some problems. When he tries to get back into the inner edge, as you alluded to, he's leaving it a little bit too much over the plate. There you see a sign of getting it too far inside, and that he's got the right plan against this Rockers team that squares up balls very well. That can be shown by the no extra base hits. He just hasn't executed to perfection.
First pitch on the outside corner to Vio Sergey Rosa. And the count, no balls and one strike on the left-handed hitter. Runners on first and second with one away in the top of the fifth. The Rockers, 3 runs on 9 hits. You mentioned all of them singles. The 0-1 pitch, a fastball, misses a couple inches inside, and the count, a ball and a strike on the left-handed hitter. Rosa 1 for 1 in this evening's contest. And while he's only hitting .258, the OPS, a very strong .876. The 1-1 pitch, breaking ball below the knees, and the count 2 balls and a strike.
Now, the most hits that the Blue Crabs have allowed by an opponent in a game this season is 16. That's happened a couple of times. We are not quite halfway through this game, and the Rockers would, in fact, be on track to break that record.
The 2-1 pitch, fastball, cut on and missed from Rosa. And the count 2-2. Runners on first and second with one away. And time is called.
Yeah, the Rockers have proven time and time again they are able to get offense. They have the most runs scored in the Atlantic League with 288, the most home runs with 62, and plus 70.
The 2-2 pitch swung on and missed. Breaking ball low, and Vio Sergey Rosa goes down swinging. And after recording a hit in his first time up, Rosa broke in 0 for 11 slump, but he strikes out again here, and he's now just 1 for his last 13. Here's the 7-hitter in the order, Matt Jones. Jones 1 for 2 on the game.
This just his 4th game played in for the Rockers this season.
First pitch cut on, a slow ground ball to the third base line. And Josh McAdams is not going to have a play as it dies on the infield grass. The bases are loaded with 2 outs in the top of the 5th.
And this is where you go hard or you go home if you're Brandon Compton. You're at the bottom of the order. In terms of batting average, Giovanni Alfonso would be a very good candidate to pitch against right now. He's 0 for 2 with 2 strikeouts swinging. This is the second time Compton's seen the bases loaded. He got out of the first jam. Can he do it again? He didn't allow a run in the last inning he pitched in, and 3 through 5 looks a lot better than maybe 5 through 5.
First pitch, breaking ball cut on and missed. And the count, no balls and 1 strike on Giovanni Alfonso. In the series against Lancaster, Alfonso was 2 for 10. And the first pitch is cut on and fouled back to the screen behind home plate. In the count, no balls and 2 strikes. The fans around here getting a little bit rowdy as they yell at Giovanni Alfonso as he swings.
A packed crowd here in Southern Maryland tonight.
Bases loaded, 2 outs. 3-3 game. Here's the 0-2 pitch, cut on and fouled off of his back leg. And the count remains no balls and 2 strikes on the right-handed hitter.
And Brandon Compton has now heated 10 hits to this Rockers team through just a little bit over halfway through the ballgame. He's in his 5th inning of work, 4 2/3 innings.
Alfonso digs his back foot into the right-hander's batter's box. Compton comes set. The 0-2 pitch. Breaking ball just below the knees. And the count, a ball and 2 strikes on Alfonso. And the 1-2 pitch, breaking ball in the dirt, blocked by Falsetti. And the runners stay put. Quincy Lattimore leads off of third, Hector Gomez from second, and Matt Jones stands a couple of feet off of first base.
Alfonso, originally a 21st round draft pick in 2015 by the Miami Marlins out of the University of Tampa.
A crucial at-bat for Alfonso with the bases loaded in the top of the fifth. The 2-2 pitch swung on a ground ball, fielded by Garcia. He'll flip to second. Blackstone's got it, and the throw's in time. And that'll do it for the top of the fifth inning. The Rockers strand 3 and are unable to put a run on the board. The score remains 3-3 at the end of 4.5. You're listening to the Blue Crabs Broadcast Network.
This is Corey Vaughn. Are you looking for fun on the weekend without breaking the bank? My Eye Doctor Backfin Buddies is for you. For just $15, your child will get in for free to every Friday Blue Crabs home game all season long. Plus, kids receive a Backfin Buddies t-shirt, go on the field for the national anthem, and parents will get a reduced ticket rate. What more could you ask for? Come watch me hit a home run every Friday for just $15.
Welcome back inside Regency Furniture Stadium in the bottom half of the fifth inning. 7, 8, and 9 due up in the Blue Crabs batting order. It's a 3-3 game. And it'll be Edwin Garcia, Josh McAdams, and Mike Falsetti coming to the plate. And these three hitters, despite being 7, 8, and 9, have been three of the best hitters in the order, Andrew.
Yeah, and that's really something that Stan Clyburn's been apt to do of late, is stacking the bottom of the lineup, and I really like the way he's able to do it. He's got offense throughout the lineup.
Garcia squares around a bunt, pulls back, and takes a pitch up and in the count of ball and no strikes on the right-handed bat. Base paths empty with no outs in the bottom of the fifth inning. 3-3 between the Rockers and the Blue Crabs. Here's the 1-0 pitch, swung on, and a slow ground ball over to short, fielded by Alfonso. Strong throw across the diamond is in time to get Garcia, and there's one away in the bottom of the fifth.
Yeah, I mean, Garcia's been very good of late, especially in the last homestand. He was 9 for 21. You give him a break here and imagine he'll come through at some point in this ballgame.
Another player who's red hot is Josh McAdams. McAdams was 8 for 16 on the last road trip. And in the month of June, he's hitting .455 with a 12.05 OPS. First pitch to the right-handed hitter is cut on and fouled back to the screen on the first base side. And the count, no balls and one strike.
And McAdams, a guy that started the season getting maybe a start here and there, maybe once every 2 weeks, but honestly, he's been hitting so well in those spot starts that you can't keep him out of the lineup, and he's continuing to produce.
The 0-1 is a fastball just off the outside edge, and McAdams swings through it, and the count, no balls and 2 strikes. Still a tie ball game from Regency Furniture Stadium. Base paths empty in the bottom of the fifth. The 0-2 pitch swung on, a slow ground ball down the first base line, fielded by the pitcher Tyler Herron. He'll throw to first as in time.
Yeah, this has become a relatively brisk game. That's something that we kind of expected. In the last homestand, we saw a lot of scoring in the early going, but as the game progresses, a lot of stagnant from both sides. It's a 3-3 game, Austin. If you just looked at the hits column, there'd be no question you'd have the Rockers on top. They're beating the Blue Crabs in the hits column by 10-3, but Southern Maryland's been able to get it done.
Mike Falsetti, who's coming off of a hot streak of his own, Takes a look at the first pitch. It misses outside for ball one. Falsetti had a 7-game hit streak going. That was snapped in the series against New Britain.
At the third best hitting streak of any Blue Crab this year.
The 1-0 fastball up and in, and the count 2 balls and no strikes. And Josh McAdams, the one who has him beat.
McAdams is in danger of losing that hit streak. He's 0 for 2 on the day.
The 2-0 delivery. Breaking ball outside, and the count 3 balls and no strikes on Mike Falsetti, the 9-hitter in the Blue Crabs order. The catcher has seen his offensive statistics rise significantly recently, and the 3-0 pitch is cut on and line down the third base line over towards the Blue Crabs bullpen. He got a good piece on that ball. That was a breaking ball left up in the zone.
Looks like there is a right-hander warming up in the Blue Crabs bullpen. Looks to be El Haj Muhammad, just stretching. No throwing quite yet.
The 3-1 offering. Fastball misses outside, and it's a walk issued to Mike Falsetti. For the Blue Crabs, that is the first walk of the game.
Yeah, and walks are hard to come by. We talked to Mike Falsetti a couple of weeks ago. Asked him if being a catcher helps him have a better eye at the plate. He says, of course it does. Not just for any individual umpire, but just staring at the strike zone for a living. Of course, you're going to have a better on-base percentage. He alluded to his sub-200 batting average last year, but better than 300 on-base percentage.
First pitch to Blackstone clips the outside edge, and the count of no balls and 1 strike. Blackstone in his first season with Southern Maryland after playing across a number of different independent balls. He says that this level is significantly higher than others as the 1-1 pitch is cut on and line into left field for a base hit. Blackstone aboard with a 2-out single, and there are runners on first and second with 2 outs.
And this is the situation you need if you're Southern Maryland. You understand that you haven't been able to get the hits, but you've been able to come through to this point. All 3 runs that Southern Maryland has scored came back in that first inning. You've got to keep it going here because it seems as though these chances are going to be hard to come by.
And Blackstone was telling me one of the things he likes about his game is that he just tries to create havoc on the base paths. And sometimes it'll affect a pitcher a lot. He'll try to aim his pitches, and he's so distracted that he has trouble throwing strikes. First pitch to Silva is caught on and line down the left field line for a base hit. It'll score at least 1 run. Blackstone rounds third. He's headed home. He'll score. It's a 2 RBI double from Ruby Silva, and the Blue Crabs lead it 5-3.
Ruby Silva, have yourself a game. He's 3 for 3 with 3 RBIs, and he's only in the 5th inning of action. Kent Blackstone allows his speed to turn into the second time he's scored today, both of which, with a slower runner, would not have even been close.
Now we discussed Blackstone's speed. He scores from first after he got on board with a single into left field. And then scored from second earlier in this ball game. So Blackstone 1 for 2 with 2 runs scored. Silva 3 for 3 with 3 RBIs. The first pitch to Joe Benson is cut on and popped up down the first base side. Ranging over into foul territory, Rosa, he makes the catch for the final out. But not before the Blue Crabs strike twice and lead this game 5-3. You're listening to the Blue Crabs Broadcast Network.
So, what do you like about your home?
Practice like hockey. I practice stick handling and sometimes shooting. Mommy. Go outside sometimes. I like playing lacrosse. Playing the Switch. I like the scribble. Daddy. I like to build Legos at home. I have the biggest closet. Riding my dirt bike.
We help you home. At Hometown Real Estate, we want to help you and your family home, whatever that takes and whatever that means to you. Give us a call at 888-225-5252. 2736 or online at helpyouhomebluecrabs.com.
This is Charlie Valerio, and you are listening to the Blue Crabs Broadcast Network.
Brandon Compton is 101 pitches into his outing, but he returns in the top of the 6th, where the Blue Crabs have a 5-3 lead over the Rockers. And it is 9-1-2 due up for the High Point Rockers. Callion Sams, who's hitting just 146 on the season, digs in from the right side. But Sams has hurt Compton tonight. 2 for 2 on the evening. First pitch to Sams, fastball off the outer edge, and the count 1 ball and no strikes. The 1-0 delivery misses, and the count 2-0 on Sams. So far, Compton has gone 5 innings of work. He has allowed 10 hits, 1 walk, and he's hit a batter, but he's kept the damage to just 3 runs. The 2-0 pitch is swung on and lined over towards the Blue Crabs bullpen. Foul, and the count 2 balls and a strike on the right-handed hitter, Sams. He got a good piece of hitting on that ball. It was just in foul ground. The 2-1 pitch to Sam, swung on and lined up the middle for a base hit. Make it 3 for 3 on the evening for Sams, who continues to see his batting average rise. Coming into this game, Sams hit at just 103 through 39 at-bats. 3 at-bats later, and his average is at 167. Steven Cardulo, the leadoff hitter, digs in from the right side with a runner on first base and no outs. First pitch, breaking ball, and that badly fools Cardulo, who falls to a knee, swinging and missing at that pitch. Compton tosses back over to first as Sams dives back in safely. Count no balls and 1 strike on Cardulo. No outs in the top of the 6th inning. A 5-3 Blue Crabs lead. The 0-1 delivery swung on, a high fly ball into center field. Vaughn took 2 steps in, now takes 2 steps back and makes the catch for the first out.
Alluded to earlier, Compton's been living on the outer edge, using that 2-seam to sneak back into the outer corner. The problem for these Rockers hitters becomes when Compton, who has an above-average fastball, runs one in on you. It's going to jam you up. Cardulo thought as though he was going to have a good piece of that ball, but with a running fastball on the inner edge like Compton has, that's going to eat you up every time.
First pitch from Compton to Miles Schroeder is a breaking ball. Schroeder swings over in the count 0-1. That was pitch number 108 of Brandon Compton's evening.
Yeah, you'd have to imagine he's on a pretty short leaf. Elhaj Muhammad is throwing in the Blue Crabs bullpen.
The 0-1 pitch swung on and fouled back to the screen behind home plate, and the count no balls and 2 strikes on the left-handed hitter. Sams leads off first base with 1 out in the top of the 6th. The Blue Crabs' advantage is 2. They scored 3 runs in the bottom of the 1st, 2 more in the bottom of the 5th. And the 0-2 pitch runs inside in the count 1-2. The Rockers have mustered 3 runs in this ballgame. They all occurred in the first 3 innings. And Brandon Compton has still allowed base runners in the 4th, 5th, and 6th, but he's managed to work out of jams. Runner goes, the 1-2 pitch misses, and Falsetti can't get a grip on the ball. It will be a stolen base for Kellyan Sams.
What a terrific jump by Sams. He got off immediately on the first movement, and that's what Compton understands. He knows that these Rockers are going to run a lot. That's why he's picked off a total of 7 times in this game. But you'd have to imagine if Schroeder is able to reach base, that would be the night for Compton.
Yeah, Compton has had a tough evening. He's allowed 11 hits, issued a walk and a hit batsman for 13 base runners as the 2-2 pitch is swung on and dribbled slowly down the first base line, right to John Griffin, who fields it and steps on first base. Sams advances to third base as there are 2 away in the top of the 6th. Still a 2-run edge for the Blue Crabs. And it is the 3-hitter in the order for the High Point Rockers, Tyler Marinkov.
The most pitches that Brandon Compton has thrown this year was 117. That was one of his early starts in the season. And at this moment, he's sitting right around that mark. He's thrown 113 pitches with that last one.
Sams leads off of first with 2 away in the top of the 6th. Count 1-0 on Marinkov. The 1-0 misses outside, and the count 2 balls and no strikes. On the right-handed hitter, Marinkov today is 0 for 3. He came into this game hitting an even 300, but that batting average has slipped to 289. An opportunity to come through with the runner on third base and cut the deficit to 1 run for the Rockers. Compton comes set. The 2-0 pitch swung on a line drive, but it's right at the shortstop, Edwin Garcia, who gloves it for the final out of the top of the 6th inning. We're finished with 5.5. It's the Blue Crabs 5 and the Rockers 3 on the Blue Crabs Broadcast Network.
This is Ryan Chafee, right-handed pitcher for the Southern Maryland Blue Crabs. Sunday afternoons are the time to be at Blue Crabs games. Every Sunday home game is Kids Day at Regency Furniture Stadium. With the ticket, you will get access to a free pre-game autograph session, kids get free admission to Pinch's Playground, and kids run the bases for free after the game. Come join us for Kids Day every Sunday Blue Crabs home game.
Silky Bee.
This is Ryan Chafee, and you're listening to the Blue Crabs Broadcast Network.
Bottom half of the 6th inning, and the Blue Crabs are looking for some insurance runs. They lead this game 5-3 and send 4, 5, and 6 in the batting order to the plate in this half inning. Corey Vaughn, Frank Martinez, and John Griffin due up. Corey Vaughn is 0 for 1 in this evening's contest. He has driven in a run on a sac fly as the first pitch, fastball outside edge, and the count 0-1. Tyler Herron, who has allowed 5 earned runs in 5 innings, has thrown just 61 pitches.
You don't see that quite too often.
The 0-1 pitch, fastball on the inner half, and the count 0-2. Now that's extremely important for a couple of reasons. And the first of which is that it's going to save this Rockers bullpen for games later in this series, as he has a very good chance of going 7, maybe even 8 innings in tonight's ballgame. ball and 2 strikes. Vaughn steps back in. Here's the 1-2 pitch. It's cut on and fouled back down the first base side. And the count remains 1 ball and 2 strikes on the right-handed hitter, Corey Vaughn. Vaughn taps home plate twice, moves his bat in circular motion. The base path's empty, no outs. The 1-2 offering, breaking ball in the dirt, and the count 2-2. Now, Tyler Herron has not gone more than 7 innings in an outing this season. He definitely has an opportunity to do so tonight.
Yeah, if there was ever a night to do it, it would be tonight. The only concern that comes to Herron is the fact that he keeps allowing more and more runs.
The 2-2 pitch swung on and fouled off down the first base line once again and out of play. The count remains even at 2 balls and 2 strikes. Corey Vaughn has an elite eye at the plate. He draws the 7th most walks in the Atlantic League and leads the team for the Blue Crabs. Here's the 2-2 pitch. Swung on and missed. Struck him out. One away in the bottom half of the 6th inning. Frank Martinez comes up to the plate. First pitch to Martinez, fastball misses outside, and the count 1 ball and no strikes on the left-handed hitter, Frank Martinez. Frank Martinez was going through a slump just about a week ago, but he seems to have turned things around. Had a multi-hit game last night as the 0-1 pitch is swung on and fouled off, count 1-1. He is 0 for 2 this evening. In the series against New Britain, he did have a 3-run home run. 4 RBIs in total in the series. The 1-1 pitch cut on up the middle. It's a one-hopper over to the shortstop, Alfonso. He can't come up with it cleanly, and Martinez is aboard at first base. It's going to be a single for Martinez. So a runner on first base with 1 out. Now, the shortstop, Alfonso, was playing to the third base side of second base, although there was a slight shift on Martinez. By the time he fielded it, though, he was on the first base side of second. And it took a bad hop off the lip of the grass. And Frank Martinez stands on first base. First pitch of John Griffin swung on and fouled off down the first base side. Count 0-1 on the right-handed bat. Runner on first with 1 out. John Griffin hitting north of 300 during the month of June, although his batting average overall is sitting at 208. The 0-1 delivery at the knees for strike 2, and the count no balls and 2 strikes. During the last road trip, Griffin played in 2 games, and he was 2 for 6. The 0-2 delivery, fastball upstairs, and the count 1 ball and 2 strikes. After the long at-bat to Corey Vaughn and the single from Martinez, John Griffin now working a deeper at-bat, and Tyler Herron's pitch count finally starting to rise as the 1-2 is fouled off down the right field side out of play. He is now 75 pitches into his outing, and he has thrown 15 in the inning. Griffin digs back in from the right side. Martinez leads off of first base. The 1-2 pitch cut on and poked foul over towards the Rockers' dugout. And the count remains 1-2 on the right-handed bat. Now, John Griffin, someone who has a lot of power, has not yet homered in the month of June, hasn't homered since May the 24th. We all know that power can come at any time. The 1-2 pitch. Swung on, and he gets a piece of it again, fouling it back to the screen. And Andrew, we see another deep at-bat worked from John Griffin.
Yeah, we sure do. And he's very much like Corey Vaughn in that pitchers are going to be careful to pitch to him. Don't want to give him anything too close.
The 1-2 pitch, a one-hop rover to third. Fielded by Gomez on a second for one. Back on to first, a double play. The Rockers go around the horn. 5-4-3 to end the bottom half of the sixth inning. The Blue Crabs still on top by 2, 5-3. You're listening to the Blue Crabs Broadcast Network.
Maryland Blue Crabs. Sunday afternoons are the time to be at Blue Crabs games. Every Sunday home game is Kids Day at Regency Furniture Stadium. With the ticket, you will get access to a free pre-game autograph session, kids get free admission to Pinch's Playground, and kids run the bases for free after the game. Come join us for Kids Day every Sunday Blue Crabs home game.
Welcome back inside the Blue Crabs Broadcast Network. We take you into the final third of this ball game. New pitcher on the mound for the Southern Maryland Blue Crabs. It's Elhaj Muhammad. Muhammad was on the disabled list for quite some time. Made his return to action after a total of a little bit more than a month, about 6 weeks on the disabled list. Made that yesterday. That was at the New Britain Bees. He went in an inning. He had a clean slate. No strikeouts, walks, hits, runs, anything. He sits at an 11.05 ERA after being very much out of the lineup for some time with a big-time injury. As the first man he'll face comes in the form of Quincy Lattimore. Now, Lattimore is returning to Atlantic League action after exiting back on May 26th when his contract was purchased by a team in the Mexican Baseball League. First pitch from Muhammad. Catches the strike zone, 0-1 the count. As we apologize for any technical difficulties, the count 0-2. Now, when we keep talking about Elhaj, he's a guy that really, really lights up the radar gun. He sits at around 99 to 100 miles an hour on his right arm. As he comes in trying to protect this Blue Crabs lead, fires one in, and bye-bye to the batter. That's strike number 3, Quincy Lattimore, the first victim of the fireballing right-hander that is Elhaj Muhammad. Elhaj has had his share of struggles to this point in the season. He's pitched in a total of 8 games, going 7 1/3. He's allowed 12 hits, 10 runs, 9 of them earned, while walking 6 and striking out 9. Now, It was a different story post-injury. As we mentioned yesterday, his first outing since being activated from the disabled list. And the first pitch he gets across right now comes into the batter that comes in the form of Hector Gomez. He's 0 for 1 on the day. Make that 1 for 2. This pitch lined into the right center alley. Ruby Silva giving a chase, and he's going to cut that ball off. And I thought he was going to keep it to single bases, but he's not. The speed of Hector Gomez will get him into second. He came into this game tied for second in the Atlantic League in doubles this season. He now assumes second place outright for doubles on the year with 19.
Yeah, that was a very traditional single for everybody else in the Rockers and probably everybody for the Blue Crabs as well, but Hector Gomez has terrific speed and rounded first base strongly and slid into second base easily with a double.
Five to 3 the score in favor of the High Point Rockers. First pitch misses for ball number 1. 1-0 the count. About 12 hits for the Rockers to the Blue Crabs 6. Yes, double the hits for the team that is losing by 2 runs. The Blue Crabs have gotten 5 across with only 6 hits to their credit. Southern Maryland scored 8 runs last night in an 8-7 victory while getting just 9 hits in the game. This pitch bounced in front of home plate, and Falsetti dives on it. 2 balls, no strikes the count. A runner on second base, and the man at the plate would represent the tying run in this ball game.
It's not something you traditionally see in a Blue Crabs game. Usually, or so far this season, it's been the Blue Crabs who have been getting the hits and not driving in the runs. Tonight, the Blue Crabs don't have the hits. They've got the runs. Their opponents have not been able to drive anything in.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, that Hector Gomez double was the first extra base hit of this entire game for the High Point Rockers, but you're spot on. You don't see a lot of Blue Crabs games in which the script reads the way it does. Now the Rockers have 2 on with just 1 down after a 5-pitch walk to Vio Sergey Rosa. That flips the lineup to the bottom third, and it begins with Matthew Jones. This bottom third of the lineup has been very good. They have 2 individuals. They're 7 and 9 hitters that combine for 5 for 6 on the day. Matthew Jones, 2 for 3.
And Andrew, now that the Blue Crabs, they've got a 2-run lead, we're starting to hit the latter stages of this game. You'd have to wonder whether Matt Latos is available for tonight's contest.
Yeah, he's pitched a lot lately. We talked about that. I just don't know that he is. I wouldn't be shocked if he came in, but, you know, it's just kind of one of those things where we're going to have to wait and see.
He went 3 innings on Wednesday night, pitched an additional inning last night.
0-1 the count. Matthew Jones awaiting the 1-strike count, and it's going to bounce away from Mike Falsetti. 2 will advance into scoring position here with 1 down, and Muhammad takes a slow trot in to get a new baseball from our home plate umpire. We can close the book on Brandon Compton's evening. He went 6 innings, allowing 11 hits, but just 3 runs. All of them were earned. He walked 1 while striking out half a dozen. His ERA has dipped down to 4.88 on the season.
And we'll talk about finding a way to get out of trouble for Compton tonight. 11 hits, a walk, a hit batsman, 13 base runners result in just 3 runs.
And that should score a run. Edwin Garcia thinks about throwing home but doesn't. And that'll score a run on a ground out, an RBI from Matthew Jones. But to get back to your point earlier, Austin, when we talk about the amount that Southern Maryland has been able to come through despite not having too many hits, the Blue Crabs have left just 1 runner on base, and they're 2 for 3 with runners in scoring position. As for the High Point Rockers, they have left 9 runners on base, and they are 3 for 13 with runners in scoring position.
Well, that'll do it.
2 down in the inning, and that brings up Giovanni Alfonso. A 1-run game and another grounder to Edwin Garcia. No problem for the Gold Glover as he'll end it. And we are headed to the bottom of the 7th. It's Sweet Caroline time on the Blue Crabs Broadcast Network.
This is Kent Blackstone, infielder for the Blue Crabs. Here at Regency Furniture Stadium, we've dedicated every Friday home game to remember everybody deployed. On Red Fridays, presented by Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation, the Blue Crabs will wear red uniforms to honor those who have served, plus tickets are just $5 when you show your military ID. Come help us celebrate those who have served our country at Regency Furniture Stadium every Friday night.
This is John Griffin, and you're listening to the Blue Crabs Broadcast Network.
Welcome back inside the Blue Crabs Broadcast Network. Andrew Banster alongside Austin Rooney as we are here to take you through the bottom of the 7th inning. The 7th inning stretch has come and gone, and Tyler Herron's back out on the mound for his 7th inning of work. His team made it a little bit closer in this past half inning as they would put up one in the top of the 7th. They have scored in 4 of the 7 innings that they've hit in today. Only 1 run in each of those 4 innings. The Blue Crabs have 5 runs, with 3 of them coming in the bottom of the 1st. Another pair coming in the bottom of the 5th, and Edwin Garcia swings through the first pitch he sees, 0-1 the count. Garcia has been awfully good at home this year. He is hitting .307 here at Regency Furniture Stadium. A soft chopper to the left side. Giovanni Alfonso gobbles, twists his body and throws it across his body. What a play by the counterpart shortstop.
Yeah, very nice play over at shortstop, as you mentioned, by Alfonso. He made an error earlier in this game, or it was actually not called an error, it was a base hit, but he misplayed a ball on the first base side of second from Martinez, but comes up in this case with a nice throw to first.
Interestingly, Edwin Garcia has been up to the bat 3 times this game. All 3 times he's grounded out to the shortstop, and all 3 times he's recorded the first out of an inning. Here comes Josh McAdams riding an 8-game hit streak. That's the 2nd highest hit streak that the Blue Crabs have had this season. He is in danger of losing that hit streak. He's 0 for 2 on the day with a pair of groundouts.
Yeah, and McAdams likely to only get this 3rd at bat, as we're now on the bottom of the 7th inning.
He swings through a slider, 0-2 the count. Came into this game hitting .300 on the season. Batting average sits at .288 right now. He was 8 for 16 in the most recent homestand, and boy, was he good. He had a pinch hit, 2 RBI double to put the Blue Crabs ahead last night. That's a lead they would hold and take it to the win. He'll strike out here as the Blue Crabs find themselves down to the final out of this bottom of the 7th. Mike Falsetti on his way to the plate.
Yeah, it was a very interesting ground ball hit by McAdams. There were 2 outs, bases loaded, bottom of the 9th inning, a 1-run deficit for the Blue Crabs. Doesn't get any more intense than that. And McAdams came to the plate. It's a ground ball deflected off of the third base bag and into left field, which scored 2 runs.
Here comes Falsetti. He'll take the first pitch he sees upstairs in the count 1-0. Now, Falsetti, when the last time he came up, he has come up with 2 outs every time he's come up. But the first time he came up, he did line out. The second time he walks, turns that into a run, and the Blue Crabs would take the lead in that situation. Falsetti is hitting especially well with 2 outs this season. Swings through the first strike that he sees, and the count 1-1.
It was an interesting play, especially last night, going back to the McAdams double, in that the ball touched third base, and theoretically, I thought, is that a force out for a second? Because it touched third, but the fielder has to have possession of the ball, of course, for it to be a force out. at a base.
1-2 the count to Mike Falsetti.
You don't see it all that frequently when the ball actually does hit the base.
Yeah, it's not a common occurrence at all. It's a strange way to take a lead in the later stages of a ball game. It's interesting that the Blue Crabs are hitting .241 on the season with 2 outs. Mike Falsetti is hitting .538 with 2 outs. That coming into today's game. Falsetti drills one to the left side. It's going to be a backhand play for Giovanni Alfonso. A laser of a throw across the infield and across his body. That's the second spectacular play he made in the bottom of the 7th inning alone. We're through 7 in Southern Maryland. When we return, maybe a new arm on the mound for the Blue Crabs. You'll have to wait and see. We'll take you back here inside Regency Furniture Stadium shortly. You're listening to the Blue Crabs Broadcast Network.
Hey Blue Crabs fans, this is Tommy Thorpe, left-handed pitcher for the Blue Crabs. Did you know that every Thursday night game at Regency Furniture Stadium will feature the brand new food special, Clyburn's Chow Hall? Just for $30, you can enjoy all-you-can-eat food in the Legends Club. Clyburn's Chow Hall will alternate between beer and wings presented by Foster Grill off Waldorf and tacos and margaritas presented by Mexico Restaurant.
Thompson, and you're listening to the Blue Crabs Broadcast Network.
Welcome back inside Southern Maryland. As you saw during this last half inning, in this last road stand, Darryl Thompson got yet another milestone under his belt. He now sits 5th place in Atlantic League history in both innings pitched and in career wins in the Atlantic League. Stepping up to the plate, coming up to face a new Blue Crab pitcher, Adam Choplik is the next rocker that'll come up. Comes in the form of Kalen Sams. He's 3 for 3 in the game. As Adam Choplik steps up to the mound. A check swing, and yes, he did go around, says our home plate umpire. And the count now a ball and a strike to Sams.
Yeah, you mentioned the 3 for 3 on the day for Sams. Batting average from 103 to 167.
Not too bad of a day for the man that has represented the Netherlands many times in professional baseball competition. 1-1, make that 2-1 the count.
Sometimes you'll see the Netherlands in the Little League World Series. That's always exciting.
That's exactly right. I've got some Dutch roots, so.
You do?
I sure do, so.
I'm sort of from all over the place. I've sort of lost track of where I'm from, so.
Fair enough. The count 2-1. Choplik changes it up on Sams, and he'll swing through it. The count 2 balls and 2 strikes. We can put a bow on the night for El Haj Muhammad. He went 1 inning. He allowed a hit, a run. It was earned. Walked 1, struck out 1. Choplik comes in with an 0-1 record and a 3.93 ERA. This pitch, a fastball, high and outside, chasing with Sams. He's down for the first time on the night, and 1 is down in the top of the 8th for the Rockers.
A big-time strikeout for Choplik. He goes upstairs and gets a swing and a miss from Sams.
That'll flip the lineup back to the top for the Rockers. Brings up Steven Cardulo. He's 1 for 4 on the game. He singled and later scored in the first. Wears number 65 on the back of his jersey. Comes into today tied for 5th in the Atlantic League in extra base hits with 24 on the season. Swings through a fastball on the first pitch he sees, and the count 0-1. Cardulo rocks one of the more unorthodox numbers you're going to see in professional baseball, in that he wears number 65. Although I can't hate on that at all, as Choplik gets Cardulo to swing and hit it right back into the screen. I don't know if I mentioned this, but growing up, I used to wear the number 85 on the back of my jersey, and it wasn't as a sign of respect to any football receiver or anything. Honestly, I don't know where I came up with the number, but it's the one I always wanted, so I kind of feel Cardulo on this one. 0-2 the count to Steven. Choplik on its way with the pitch. It's another changeup. Cardulo falls to his knees. It was such a good changeup. Falsetti misses on the tag. A throw down to first just because. And the drop third strike is completed. That's 2 down in the inning.
It was a tough view from my vantage point up here, but Cardulo seems certain that he got a foul tip on that ball. And you don't see it all that frequently when a hitter is so certain that he's pleading with the umpire saying, I hit that ball, I hit that ball. But that's what Cardulo was doing. But the home plate umpire, Jorge Terán, says, nope, you swung and missed. And there are now 2 outs in the top of the 8th inning.
That brings up Miles Schroeder. Now, there is a school of thought, and I don't know if I'm in this boat, but there is a school of thought that says if you stay in the box, then it's almost showing the umpire that you're certain that you are correct in your assumption, and that if, let's say, you think you got hit by a pitch, you really play it off and you stay in the box, don't even think about, going down to first on a drop third strike, that type of thing. It's almost to sell it, but, I think that Cardulo was really sold on that one. 1-0 the count.
Yeah, I think one way or another, whether he hit the ball or not, Cardulo thought he hit the ball.
That's true, as Choplik misses outside. The count 2 balls and no strikes.
Otherwise, he may be nominated for some sort of, he should be in an upcoming movie.
Yeah, we could hook him up with Dwier Brown.
That's right, because the acting was so good if he did not hit that ball that he deserves to be in one.
Dwier Brown joined us earlier on the broadcast. He was in the movie Field of Dreams. He played John Kinstella. This one lined up the middle, hard on the ground, and Miles Schroeder is now 3 for 5 on the day.
Well, Matt Latos, who has thrown 49 pitches over the last 2 days, was just warming up in the bullpen. He is now sitting back with the rest of the bullpen after he got up, got warm.
Looks like he's going to put some sleeves on to try to stay loose. His ERA is sitting under 1 right now.
0.96. It is terrific.
Some may even say tremendous.
I think I would call that tremendous.
0-1 the count. As the next man up, Tyler Marinkov is going to swing through the first pitch he sees. Brandon Compton danced around danger in his start today. Some days you just don't have it. He didn't necessarily have it today as he allowed a lot of hits, but he had it when he needed to. He pitched 6 innings, allowing 11 hits, allowed a couple of other free passes. He allowed just 3 runs. El Haj Muhammad gets an inning after that, allows a run. And Adam Choplik trying to pave the way for what would likely be Matt Latos in the 9th. Choplik, a check over to first, and Miles Schroeder back easy.
And Latos was especially good on Wednesday night in extra innings. Of course, the new Atlantic League rules mandate that a runner starts on second base at the beginning of each extra inning. And although the runner started on second base in each inning, Latos still did not allow a run to score in 3.
This pitch, a drop third strike. Griffin catches it, and we are through this half inning. We'll take you into the bottom of the 8th. The Blue Crabs back up to bat when we return on the Blue Crabs Broadcast Network.
This is John Griffin, infielder for the Southern Maryland Blue Crabs. When I'm not playing baseball, I'm watching it. That's why I'll be staying after the Blue Crabs game on June 9th to watch the Battle of the Badges game, where local police officers and local firefighters go head-to-head in a game of baseball. Come join me on June 9th and watch the best game of the year.
This is Ruby Silva, and you are listening to the Blue Crabs Broadcast Network.
Welcome back inside Southern Maryland. We take you into the bottom of the 8th inning of baseball. New arm on the mound for the High Point Rockers. It's Alberto Baldonado, a left-hander at 6'4", 250 pounds. Last pitch for the AAA affiliate of the Chicago Cubs, the Iowa Cubs. That was his highest level. He originates from Cologne, Panama, as he'll step in to face off against Kent Blackstone. Left-on-left matchup ensuing. First pitch, Blackstone shows bunt, and it's called strike, although Blackstone did in fact pull back.
And the catcher as well, Jones, dropped the ball on the pitch. It was an interesting situation where Blackstone pulls back on the bunt. It's still a called strike, and the catcher doesn't hold on to it.
Baldonado loops a pitch in, and it'll miss inside 1-1 the count. We can put a bow on Tyler Herron's night. He went 7 innings, allowing 6 hits, 5 runs, 4 of which were earned. He struck out 4 while walking 1. Baldonado jams up Blackstone. He'll loft one into the seating bowl. That reaches and will be a souvenir for one of the many fans here in Southern Maryland tonight. It's Field of Dreams night and Boy Scouts night. 1-2 the count.
Discussing Herron once more, he threw just 88 pitches through 7 innings, so didn't even reach that 100 pitch count.
Chopper to the right side, and Miles Schroeder's got it. Kent Blackstone's down to start us off in the bottom of the 8th. That brings up Ruby Silva, Jamie Keefe, and Frank Viola, the manager and pitching coach for these High Point Rockers, strategically put in Baldonado to face off against 2 straight lefties, and then Joe Benson would follow. Of course, part of the MLB Atlantic League rule changes is that a pitcher must at least face 3 batters or finish an inning or come out via the injury. 1 down, Ruby Silva lazily chops one off to the left side, although it goes 100 miles an hour. As Silva's been awfully good today. He's awfully good at home on the season. He's 3 for 3 today with 2 doubles and 4 RBIs. Came into today hitting .333 at Regency Furniture Stadium. Wiggles the bat above the head, thinks about the bunt, but it crosses for strike number 2 as he pulls back his lumber. Latos is up and throwing in the Blue Crabs bullpen.
Yeah, and I'd bet that Silva's happy to be home as well, because this last road trip he hit just 135.
Yeah, and that's not Ruby Silva-esque. He's a guy that knows how to hit. On his career, he is sitting right around a .280 career batting average. That's uncommon for a guy that's played in minor league baseball for more than a half a decade, sitting on nearly a full decade. This pitch misses outside. The count 2 balls as well as 2 strikes.
And he also drew a few walks this last road trip as well.
And that's un-Ruby Silva-esque. He's a free swinger to say the least.
In the series with New Britain alone, he drew 3 walks.
This pitch lofted to the right side. It's going to be a foot race. Ruby Silva coming in, and he's out. Wow, I thought he beat him.
And Silva can't believe it either. That was an extremely close play. From my vantage point, it was very unclear whether or not Baldonado beat Silva to the bag.
Yeah, I think what really sold me is that I may have just misread this, but it looked as though Silvio Martinez Jr., the first base umpire, was in fact going to call him safe. It looked as though he was gesturing that way. Now, that may have just been my vantage point, my perception, what have you. Nonetheless, it is out number 2, and Joe Benson is the final Blue Crabs hope in their half of the 8th.
Benson had the triple. That was back in the bottom half of the first inning.
And he'll look to maybe not quite duplicate that, but at least get on base, get another 2-out rally going for Southern Maryland. That's how they played it, too, in the bottom of the 5th. Those 2 runs look especially good on the board right now, as without those, they'd be trailing in this game. Southern Maryland scored a trio in the bottom of the 1st, added another pair in the bottom of the 5th. The scoring has been much more dispersed for the Rockers as Joe Benson swings through a strike. The Rockers have scored 1 run in 4 separate innings, that coming in the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 7th.
Yeah, you have to put up a crooked number, but they've got 4 runs. They've done it on 13 hits.
Benson just saves himself and protects the plate. Didn't like that pitch, but he knew it was too close for comfort in the count, 0-2. No balls, 2 strikes. Joe Benson with the red bat wiggling above his black helmet. He lofts this one high, should get out of play and does. The count will remain 0-2. And at the very least, Alberto Baldonado is not going to have an easy road out of this inning. Mentioned Baldonado most recently pitched for the Iowa Cubs, the AAA affiliate of the Chicago Cubs. That's the highest level he ever reached. Here comes the 0-2 once more. That's not going to get it done. Benson fighting for his dear life as Baldonado continues to pound the strike zone. At a point, if you're Baldonado, you think about putting one out of the zone, don't you?
You'd have to, because, again, you're ahead in the count 0-2. Base paths are empty. I think burying something in the dirt makes a lot of sense.
0-2 pitch. This one off the plate, and Joe Benson goes down on strikes. We're headed into the top of the 9th. Likely Matt Latos out to the bump. You don't want to miss it. We'll be right back on the Blue Crabs Broadcast Network.
This is Brandon Compton, right-handed pitcher for the Southern Maryland Blue Crabs, and I know that I wouldn't be where I am today without reading. That's why I'm inviting everyone to the Southern Maryland Reading Night presented by the Southern Maryland Regional Library Association on June 22nd at Regency Furniture Stadium. The game will also feature a free lunchbox giveaway and a post-game firework extravaganza. You don't want to miss June 22nd, where we jam-pack reading, lunchboxes, and fireworks into a fun-filled night.
This is Matt Latos, and you're listening to the Blue Crabs Broadcast Network.
Welcome back inside Southern Maryland. Matt Latos introduces himself as he'll come out onto the mound. Austin, he has been awfully good of late. Take us through some of the numbers that he's been able to post.
Yeah, Matt Latos has been nothing short of terrific. Latos went 3 innings most recently against the New Britain Bees and did not allow a single run. He has not allowed a hit in the last 11 innings.
Which is just beyond me. That is just unfathomable.
And there was a streak of 9 consecutive innings where he did not allow a single base runner.
Quincy Lattimore, the first man to come in to face Matt Latos, the former Cy Young candidate in the MLB. And the first pitch he throws to Lattimore is fouled off to the right side. Now, of course, the Cy Young is given to the best pitcher in either the American or the National League. That was back in Latos' sophomore season in the MLB. He was 8th in Cy Young voting that year.
And back in early May, Matt Latos had a whip of 2.40. It stands at 0.91 now.
Not too bad of a number to go down. Latos' ERA sits south of 1 and the count 0-2.
Yeah, 0.96 ERA for the right-handed pitcher.
Boy, has he been good. A lot of fun to watch. The right-hander, tan glove in front of his face. This one high and tight, and Lattimore has to dodge his way out of danger. Now, Latos throws a very interesting pitch. You can read about it on Fangraphs.com. They wrote an article about a pitch that he holds like a curveball, but throws like a changeup, and it moves a different way almost every time he throws it. He doesn't really throw it anymore, but it is in his arsenal. This pitch to the left side, Josh McAdams with a high throw out of the reach of the first baseman, John Griffin, and Lattimore gets into second. Now this throw gets away, and the Blue Crabs with a sloppy first plate appearance. And that will go down as an error on Josh McAdams.
A very tough break for the Blue Crabs as they looked like they were getting a ground ball for the first out of the inning, but instead a high throw from McAdams. It sails over the head of John Griffin. John Griffin's a big guy. He's 6'5", but he couldn't get up and reach that ball. And the throw to second was offline as well.
And you alluded to it earlier that with the Atlantic League MLB rule changes, when an extra inning starts, a pitcher has to have a runner at second behind him. So think about it. This is basically the situation he worked out of 3 times on Wednesday. You've got a runner at second and no outs. Latos has proven he could do this. He faces off against Hector Gomez. He turned a single into a double his last time up, and he'll see strike number 1 on the inside. 0-1 the count to Gomez. He has the second most doubles in the Atlantic League on the season with 19. Latos trying to keep him right there at 19. Gomez has had a very good day. He's 2 for 2, but he's reached base 3 times and had a sac fly outside of that. This pitch slowly hit to the left side. Josh McAdams fires across the infield, and out number 1 has come and gone, and McAdams redeems himself for the time being.
Yeah, nice job by Matt Latos and Garcia making a nice play behind McAdams, which forces the runner to stay at second base because McAdams had to come well in on the infield grass. And there was some concern that Quincy Lattimore might be able to advance to third base on the grounder over to third, which would allow the Rockers to potentially have a sac fly or trade a run with an out here in the top of the ninth.
Great defensive awareness by the Blue Crabs to avoid that, as Latos, right-handed pitching, left-handed hitting matchup, starts off with a pitch to Vio Sergei Rosa that he watches for strike number 1 on the outside. Latos just spots up so tremendously well. No balls, 1 strike, the count to number 3. The left-handed hitting Vio Sergei Rosa. He entered this game early in the contest after an injury to Richie Schaefer. This pitch, a curveball that bounces in the dirt. We're at a ball and a strike. Tensions are high here in Southern Maryland. There is not a single fan that is not on the edge of their seat, myself included. Latos, arm behind his back. Now he's set. Tan glove at the belt. Likely will come to the face, and it does. 1 ball, 1 strike, 1 out, 1 man on. Latos, a high and tight fastball, swung on and fouled back into the screen. The count of ball and 2 strikes. What do you go with here if you're Latos?
I think it's probably pretty important for Latos to keep a ball out of the dirt right now because of the runner on second, the potential for him to advance to third. So I could see a high fastball here from Latos. Try to get a swing and a miss.
He'll step off to collect himself. He's alluded many times to the relationship and connection he's been able to develop with his catchers. 1 ball, 2 strikes the count. The right-handed Latos gets a ground ball. It's to the right side. Kent Blackstone gets it and gives it off to his first baseman. 2 down in the inning.
It's a big out for Matt Latos, but yet again, Quincy Lattimore advancing over to third base. A wild pitch, pass ball. Could be all the Rockers need to tie this game.
It's Latos time in Southern Maryland. Matthew Jones up to the plate. He's 2 for 4 on the night. He has an RBI, as well as number 41 gets some dirt off of the back of his spikes. And if there's one really positive to take away from the transition from a starting pitcher to a closer, such as Latos, is he's pitched under the bright lights many times before in some of the biggest situations possible.
He's pitched postseason baseball at the MLB level. Does not get much more intense than that.
First pitch comes in and crosses for strike number 1. Latos was actually a part of a no-hitter back in his day as well. It was a combined no-hitter, but nonetheless a part of it. I believe he threw 5 innings in that game. 0-1 the count. Number 12, Matthew Jones, in just his 4th game played for the Rockers this season. In a pivotal game for the High Point Rockers. Southern Maryland on the brink of continuing this hot streak, and they're even closer now. Matt Latos has the Southern Maryland faithful behind him, and he is narrowly going to get this win. Right on the doorstep.
What a fastball on that 0-1 pitch. He blew that right by Matthew Jones.
Latos with the Crustacean Nation faithful behind him. 0-2 pitch. A little bit outside, and this fan base is going to have to wait just a little bit longer. Matthew Jones with the weight of his team on his shoulders. One-two pitch. Latos has his sign. Here it comes. This pitch, lofted foul. We're going to have to wait once more. Latos going right after Jones. No signs of being hesitant. And that's the mentality you got to have with the confidence that Matt Latos has to have right now. He'll take his time, step off the mound. Look at the white baseball in his hand. And he's ready for the 1-2. He's going to get his sign from his catcher, number 2, Mike Falsetti, and now Latos. Set once again for the 1-2 pitch. Shrugs the shoulders, in the dirt. That's a Blue Crabs victory. Southern Maryland has won yet again. Thanks yet again to Matt Latos. Boy, has he been good this year. Sends chills down your spine to the point that he's been clutch this season. Southern Maryland is now 8-6 in their last 14 games. It's not even close. That's the best stretch of baseball they've played this year. Austin, what a victory.
Yeah, make it 12 consecutive innings for Matt Latos without allowing a single hit. He does it yet again and gets yet another save for Southern Maryland. Comes up in a crucial situation in the bottom of the 9th inning, and to say he's been consistent might be the understatement of the season. as his ERA drops to 0.91. And he cements himself as the top closer in the Atlantic League.
Latos has been terrific, and we would have expected really just about what we've seen. Nonetheless, it's so exciting to watch. He has been terrific. The Blue Crabs win by a final score of 5-4. Let's take you through the post-game show. Brandon Compton started this game for the Blue Crabs. He went 6 innings, allowing 11 hits, 3 runs, all of which were earned. He walked 1 while striking out half a dozen. El-Haj Muhammad came in relief. He went an inning. He walked 1, struck out 1 while allowing a hit and a run. It was earned. Adam Choplik struck out the side in the 8th. He went an inning, allowing a hit. And Matt Latos goes the distance and finishes this game off. You said it, taking his ERA down to .91. As for the High Point Rockers, the starter tonight was Tyler Herron. He went 7 innings, allowing 6 hits, 5 runs, 4 of which were earned. He struck out just as many while walking 1. Alberto Baldonado got the next inning. He had a clean slate, went 1 inning, striking out 1. As for the Blue Crabs offensively, Austin, take us through some key numbers that we saw this evening.
Well, the top of the order came through in a big way for the Blue Crabs this evening. There are only 4 different hitters for the Blue Crabs who had a base hit. Blackstone was 1 for 3. He also scored 2 runs. Silva 3 for 4 with 3 RBIs. He was the player of the game without a doubt for the Blue Crabs. Benson 1 for 4 with an RBI and a run scored. And then Frank Martinez earned himself a base hit. But those were the only 4 players for the Blue Crabs who did earn a base hit. Falsetti reached on a walk, but that was really it. The Blue Crabs relied on the top of their order, and they came through this evening.
That's how we put a bow on a broadcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, for Austin Rooney, I'm Andrew Banstra, signing off on a 5-4 Southern Maryland victory. Have a great night. Thanks for tuning in, and remember, go Blue Crabs.